The Scorpid, a classic WoW movie. In the quaint Northshire Abbey, Scorp woke up confused, sporting a red shirt, green leggings and boots, a fashion statement he didn't remember making. Battling a concussion-induced amnesia, he stumbled outside, where Deputy Willem and Marshal McBride roped him into a quest to exterminate annoying kobolds. Egan Peltskinner, an Abbey resident, assigned him the thrilling job of collecting tough wolf meat. Armed with determination and a letter opener, Scorp dispatched the feeble young wolves like a pro. Then, he faced the shockingly low IQ humanoid rat creatures, kobolds. Scorp took to exterminating the lot of them. Returning to Egan, Scorp got leather wrist guards as a reward. News of his prowess reached Marshal McBride, who upgraded him to hunting larger kobolds. Before tackling the new task, Scorp hydrated with fresh water, snacked on 2 apples, and geared up in his new wrist guards. Jorik offered superhuman abilities in exchange for a magical rune guarded by Defias bandits. Tempting, but Scorp decided to stick to kobold extermination business for now. He liked watching the light in their candles go out. In the woods again, Scorp stumbled upon a half-naked woman. Being the gentleman he is, he asked about her missing shirt.
I lost it. Yeah, it's cold out here.
Things got awkward when he asked about an OnlyFans, and she bailed. Scorp brushed it off as appearing too handsome for her. Delving into the kobold mine, inside he found a charcoal-colored cloak, a swanky addition to his evolving attire. Back at Northshire Abbey, Scorp received an odd but sturdier belt from Marshal McBride, an upgrade from his civilian cloth.
Here, have my old belt as your well-earned reward. Whatever you do, don't shine a black light on it.
Eager to climb the ladder of respect, Scorp took on McBride's challenge to confront Defias bandits to the east. Amid the battle, he stumbled upon a hidden chest among outhouses, revealing the elusive rune Jorik wanted, stashed between toilet paper. After claiming the rune, Scorp took pride in taking a whiz all over their outhouse supplies, rather than using the outhouse. On his return, a stalker was caught by Scorp's expert senses. Caught in his line of sight, the stalker tried to play it off, but Scorp wasn't going to be tricked by an obvious fan.
You must be mistaken. I've been scouting the area for bandits. Sorry, have a good day.
With copper coins earned from McBride's tasks, Scorp invested in some throwing axes. He met Millie Osworth, who sought help rescuing her grapes from the Defias bandits across the stream to the east. Scorp ransacked the bandits' food stores, pilfered their own supplies, and committed heinous acts all in the name of Millie Osworth and her grapes. Vulcan Eisenstrider presented an opportunity to visit Goldshire's Inn for free pumpkins, spicing up Scorp's monotonous diet of tough bread and stale water. In Goldshire, broke, and on the lookout for odd jobs, fate pointed him to William Pessel, the mastermind behind a kobold exploitation scheme. Scorp embraced the morally grey task of severely beating unsuspecting kobolds, robbing them of their only source of light for William's candle business. Enter Remy 2 times, pitching a similar venture to swipe gold dust from their lifeless fingertips. Scorp, already knee-deep in shadiness, jumped on board. Deep in Fargo Deep Mine, he ruthlessly battled kobolds, even saving the lives of fellow business associates as they joined him in these perilous tasks. Amidst the chaos, Scorp unveiled a stolen supplies chest, which promised a handsome reward if returned to the city of Stormwind. Exiting the mine, Scorp's path took an unexpected turn when a wizard began casting a spell to steal Scorp's kill. A simple throwing axe hit first, and Scorp watched on joyfully as the wizard was forced to deal with it instead, much like William's forced labor of the kobolds. En route to Goldshire, a boar massacre that had taken place in a field caught Scorp's eye. Where some would see sorrow, he saw a business opportunity, and he rushed back to Goldshire to acquire a skinning knife and learn leatherworking. After delivering the gold dust to Remy, he returned the candles to William, solidifying their partnership, and a new mission, delivering the stolen goods to William's business partner in Stormwind City. Before heading to the city, Scorp revisited the site of the boar massacre, indulging in the lucrative endeavor of skinning. Scorp later met Tommy Joe, a hunk of a Chad who sought Scorp's aid in romancing Maybelle McClure. When Scorp declined, he was bullied for his inferior height, so Scorp left in tears. Instead, Scorp considered visiting Maybelle McClure for some fun, to get his own back. With his newfound collection of skins and hides, Scorp sauntered into Goldshire, where he found a local tailor peddling her wares. Faced with the challenge of storing his growing inventory of furs and hides, Scorp devised a plan.
What services can I offer you?
Utilizing his scraps of linen cloth, he sweet-talked the woman into crafting him a new linen bag for free, saving a chunk of his savings. However, from Scorp's perspective, the poor woman was very distracted by his dashing features and handsome face. She could barely think.
Most excellent. Grant me a moment to gather my thoughts.
Back in his room, Scorp transformed his hides and skins into leather. All packed and ready to go, he followed the road northwest, towards the city. After delivering the candles to William's business partner, who turned out to be his brother, Scorp took pride in making a filthy gnome cry. Navigating the bustling trade district overwhelmed Scorp, prompting him to seek solace in quieter surroundings. A woman fishing in the quieter canals guided him to purchasing a fishing pole. Excited about saving money on food, Scorp eagerly followed her advice.
Follow me. Here.
In his city exploration, Scorp's keen eyes snagged a free wine voucher laying in a bush. He exchanged it for a bottle of wine and, in a crafty move, sold it back to the same wine shop for copper coins, turning the unexpected find into a small profit. Continuing his ventures, Scorp met with a supply officer for the city. Remembering the stolen supply crate he found near Fargadeep Mine, he exchanged it for a silver coin. Intriguingly, the supply officer offered a deal: gather more stolen supply crates, and she'd let him purchase a powerful rune. Returning to the familiar forest for boar skinning, Scorp's culture of snagging skins left by others clashed with a night elf foreigner doing the same. Unwilling to tolerate competition with someone not of this realm, he boldly instructed her to return to her homeland, insisting she stop stealing work from good humans. The night elf, indifferent to Scorp's demands, continued her activities, sparking a primal anger in him. Instead of picking up and leaving, he actively followed her, snatching skins before she could skin the boars she slayed herself. Scorp continued his tactical ways until his bags overflowed with skins and hides, a testament to his resourcefulness and determination to dominate the lucrative trade. Stashing his loot in the room he was staying, he ended the day with some fishing, aspiring to master the fisherman's ways while securing a fresh supply of fish. Returning to Gulcher, he used their fireplace to cook an abundance of brilliant small fish, ensuring a steady food source for days to come. Scorp strolled out of Gulcher's noisy inn, into the town center, where whispers of his exploits hung in the air. The town's priest, sensing danger, bestowed magical blessings upon him, creating an aura of divine protection. Venturing to the Crystal Lake, Scorp met a night elf druid, who enhanced his flesh with nature magic. Soon, Defire's bandits, angered by his meddling throughout the forest, staged an ambush. Ever the strategist, Scorp exploited their inability to climb fences, turning the ambush in his favor. Among the defeated bandits, he found a torn piece of a treasure map, sparking his interest. Choosing stealth over brute force, he pickpocketed his way through their camps, narrowly escaping when discovered, leaving the baffled bandits in his dust. Craving more loot, he delved into the Jasperlode mine, dodging kobolds to find chests of treasure. A giant green spider guarding a stash of potential treasure was tempting, but he knew better than to test the mettle of a rare elite in his current state. Back in Goldshire, Scorp relaxed in the inn, savoring a meal of brilliant small fish and fresh water. The peace was shattered when Marshal Dughan summoned him for a westward journey. As he traveled to Westbrook Garrison, Scorp remained on high alert for bandits. At the garrison, Deputy Rayner tasked Scorp with gnoll extermination. These part-human, part-hyena foes proved tougher adversaries than kobolds, pushing him to the edge in a battle that severely humbled him. Sneaking through gnoll territory, he heard clashes and found a determined paladin battling a giant gnoll. Intrigued, he pondered whether to be an observer or intervene in the uneven fight. Seeing an opportunity, Scorp ditched the shadows, targeting the unsuspecting gnoll's weak spots from behind. Together, they took down the giant foe, but only just, proving that had he not stepped in, the paladin would surely have perished. The grateful paladin thanked him for his timely help.
Thank you.
Eyeing the potential bounty for slaying the leader of the gnolls, Scorp swiftly sliced off the other paw, planning to claim the bounty for himself. Outpacing the paladin, thanks to his lighter armor, Scorp reached the marshal first, presenting the paw and securing the reward before she caught up. Retreating to Gulcher Inn, Scorp's day took an unexpected turn when he encountered a chaotic dwarf named Elgi. Oblivious to decorum, Elgi's unruly feet dirtied the inn with his filth. Frowning, Scorp approached, attempting to restore order to the unruly dwarf's antics. Scorp advised the unruly dwarf to wear shoes and slow down.
Sir? Are you the hallway patrol?
The brazen dwarf darted away, leaving Scorp behind after having given him a swift kick to his shin. Scorp focused on his mission, heading east through Elwyn Forest to track down the notorious giant boar named Princess, known for ruining farm fields at night by eating all the crops. A fat, chubby, lubby hog. Spotting Princess and her royal entourage in a pumpkin patch, he devised a cunning plan, luring the boars around a fence and wearing them out by hopping the fence before they could get close. His expert axe-throwing skills picked them off, but the clever boars split up, closing in from all sides. A timely arrival shifted the odds. A wizard emerged, lending magical prowess. Together, they coordinated an assault, defeating Princess and her guards. Scorp thanked his unexpected ally, and they parted ways. Near the pumpkin patch, Guard Thomas enlisted him in hunting bears and wargs threatening the East Vale logging camp. Eager for profitable skinning, Scorp accepted this new duty. While hunting, he encountered a sorceress besieged by a bear and a warg, and he jumped in to help.
Thank you.
Not wanting to appear like a simp, he quickly explained that he only wanted the skins.
Oh, fair.
Following a half-completed treasure map, Scorp was led to a warg den. Spotting a hesitant wizard, he subtly encouraged him through whispers from the shadows, hoping he would distract the wargs. Successfully diverted, he lunged for the chest, discovering a magical rune that granted him the coveted quick-draw skill, an important piece of knowledge for a budding outlaw. However, lacking a boomstick and ammo to use this new skill, or coins for that matter, Scorp sought work in the East Vale logging camp. Intimidating a gnomish freak brought him fleeting joy, but practical concerns led him to explore murloc camps for treasure. Patiently waiting for a wizard to distract the half-fish, half-man creatures, he snatched a treasure chest containing valuable supplies. In Elwyn Forest, Scorp discovered the corpses of fallen foot soldiers, devoured by murlocs, and he looted their badges, intending to return them to Guard Thomas for some form of reward. Encountering who he believed to be the renowned XQC, Scorp's attempts at engagement went unnoticed, clearly beneath such an important figure's popularity. Returning to Guard Thomas with the recovered badges, Scorp received a measly reward. Then, he set his sights on Stormwind City, delivering the supply crate to the supply officer for a modest reward. Seeking a quality boomstick, he visited the dwarven gunsmith, but found cheap, low-quality options. Undeterred, he decided to explore elsewhere for a superior firearm. Navigating the gnome subway on his way to the dwarven city of Ironforge, Scorp encountered a balding gnome. Attempting to jest about the gnome's lack of hair, he was met with eerie silence, leaving him feeling seriously unnerved. In Ironforge, he visited a renowned arms dealer, opting for a hunter's boomstick with a firing rate of 28.5 rounds per minute. Seeking training for his new weapon, a miscommunication led to Scorp being teleported into an active war zone. He sought guidance from seasoned soldiers all around him, but they appeared to ridicule him instead.
Alt F4.
Level 10.
Kill the
Get
healers.
out.
Level 10 and 13.
Useless.
Go away.
Despite enduring taunts, Scorp charged into battle alongside his new allies, determined and ready to leave a mark. He was even complimented on his choice of melee weapon.
Nice stiletto.
As they approached the Horde's base, a nervous energy prompted him to seek reassurance from his comrades about their commitment on the battlefield.
All lives are valued here in the Alliance.
Reassurances proved inadequate, as Scorp and his allies faced a relentless Horde onslaught upon leaving their base, morale plummeting with each defeat. He perished. Again. And again. And again. Undeterred, Scorp charged into the enemy base, aiming to capture their flag and prove his worth to his team. Amidst chaos, a far more powerful ghoulish Horde fiend swiftly overpowered him. Determined to achieve something, Scorp encountered a lone adversary, a ghoulish wizard attempting to steal the flag. Despite a valiant fight, Scorp failed to defeat even their weakest combatant in a 1v1, proving to everyone that he is the biggest loser in the battlefield. Facing both a physical and mental toll, nevertheless, the tides of battle began to shift, as he miraculously emerged victorious against the ghoulish wizard by jumping on him while he was already fighting off a superior combatant. Encountering the formidable fiend again, Scorp fought valiantly. Despite the unfortunate outcome, there was a sense of accomplishment as he had outplayed his opponent, despite the considerable differences in their power levels. Realizing he couldn't take on anyone in a fair fight, he adapted to a strategic approach. He embraced the shadows, striking opportunistically with guerrilla tactics, helping tip the scales in favor of his allies. He didn't hit hard, but when he hit, it counted. He did what he could to provide a small advantage to whoever he was shadowing, ensuring they won their 1v1s, oftentimes securing the kill himself. He even personally returned his team's flag multiple times. Once, twice, 3, 4 times. Despite being perceived as the weakest, he proved his worth by making crucial contributions throughout the battle in small ways that added up, though they began the battle by losing 0-1. With the help of Scorp's charming features and excellent tactical genius, he and his allies pulled through to claim a hard-fought victory. He was teleported out of the war zone and recognized for the role he played in securing victory for the Alliance. He received a substantial payment as a reward for his efforts. Exhausted and battered, he reflected on the sacrifices and challenges faced. Despite the toll on his armor and having had his clothes robbed from him on the battlefield, the experience had forged him into a seasoned and formidable gunslinger. In the freezing dawn, Scorp begrudgingly greets the biting cold, his funds dwindling as he secures meager supplies for the journey. Beyond the city gates, a relentless wind cuts through Scorp's worn, war-torn attire. The frigid air haunts his solitary trek through snowy mountains. By the time he shivers into the dwarven town of Karanos, a skeptical and mildly racist dwarf redirects him to Coldridge Valley.
Oh! A human! Think you're better than us? Wanting special treatment for being taller than us, huh? Get your skinny ass over to Coldridge Valley!
The frosty reception in Karanos pushes him forward along the path to Coldridge Valley. As he navigates the treacherous terrain, Scorp, armed with his trusty boomstick, confronts a trog-infested tunnel. Each gunshot echoes defiance, proclaiming his survival skills against the grotesque trogs. A frosty call to action sends him on a wolf-hunting mission crucial for feeding Anvilmar's inhabitants. Despite his particular set of skills, he is forced to take on the role of a lame mailman. Scorp battles the biting cold to deliver letters, finding solace at campfires along the way. Demonstrating expert marksmanship, he dispatches some small boars with precision. Still not being taken seriously, he is ordered to become a dwarven variation of the water boy and deliver hot cocoa from one end of the valley to the other.
This cup will only stay hot for 5 more minutes, and Durnan didn't order chili morn brew, so get going!
Inside Anvilmar, a gnome engineer seeks Scorp's help in retrieving scattered tools from ice troll camps.
Ooh-wee! Please help me!
Effortlessly dispatching the trolls, he reclaims the tools, adding a sense of real purpose to his community service. Amidst the snowy expanse, a naked gnome catches Scorp's eye, shivering in the frigid air.
Sold them! I'm better naked, heh.
Learning the gnome is struggling financially, he offers up some torn rags he stole from the ice trolls.
Thanks! I'll never forget you.
Proving his mettle within Coldridge Valley, he earns a tangible symbol of acceptance, a permission slip and badge granting him the privilege to linger among the dwarves of Karanos. In Karanos, the pragmatic mercenary invests in flint, tinder, and firewood. No longer reliant on cold dwarven hospitality, he becomes self-sufficient with his ability to build campfires in the wilderness. Still short on coin, he accepts a mission requiring his expertise in the hunting of yetis deep within a foreboding cave. Scorp ventures into the cave and swift and decisive, he hunts smaller yetis, collecting their furs with ease. Within the yeti cave, he sets up camp, a sanctuary from the biting winds outside. Observing dwarves and gnomes engaging in yeti killing, he waits patiently, seizing the opportunity after each skirmish to skillfully skin the creatures with minimal effort required. Deep within the icy yeti cave, he strategically fends off the relentless creatures with his trusty boomstick. Maintaining a campfire in the center, he expertly attacked from a distance, showcasing his combat and survival prowess as gunfire echoed in the icy cavern. Returning to Ironforge, he safeguards his supply of leather, finding respite from chilling winds at the giant molten furnace within the center of the city. Curiosity led him to a dim alley where he discovered a mysterious chest. Using his gun as an improvised lockpick, he unveiled a magical rune, which enhanced his accuracy and granted him the ability to shoot foes between the eyes with expert precision. Eager to hone his skills further, he sought a rogue trainer, enduring a cunningly expensive lesson where he was scammed to learn abilities he probably wouldn't use. Armed with new skills, he ventured into the snowy wild to find sustenance and profit. Routine hunting and crafting became more challenging as larger boars, requiring more firepower, tested his limits. In the desolate aftermath of abandoned dwarven camps, he scavenged through remnants left by wild beasts and marauders. Among the scattered debris, he stumbled upon a damaged crate with frozen chunks of cheese contained within, a chilling testament to the ambush that befell the forsaken camp, all that remained after the wild beasts had had their fill. Facing extreme cold and dwindling supplies, he set up a campfire by an unfrozen lake, refining his fishing skills in the flickering warmth. With no funds for food, he journeyed west of Dunmoro, finding an absence of edible provisions for sale, merely booze and some milk, for some reason. Determined to procure his own food other than the slimy fish he caught, Scorp continued west, uncovering the mystery of the ransacked camps when he encountered crazed, irradiated gnomes wreaking havoc. Hiding among the irradiated gnomes, he met a dwarven secret agent on a covert mission. Promised a generous reward for his help, Scorp willingly dispatched the irradiated gnomes, fueled by mild prejudice towards gnomes in general. The task held no moral dilemma for him, as he eliminated the frenzied, mutated creatures. Before returning to Karanos, he had salvaged random cogs and gears from irradiated gnomes. Delivering them to some nerdy gnomish scientists, he made a hasty retreat before their machine could malfunction, and zapped them all to death.
Let me install these gyromechanic gears and restabilization cogs, and we'll figure out the recombobulator. That should do the trick. Time to save the entire gnomish race. Here goes nothing.
In the harsh, snowy mountains, he discovered a secret ice troll camp where he stealthily pilfered their prized recreational herb stash, shimmerweed. A scuffle ensued, but Scorp's combat prowess secured the entire cache. Returning triumphantly, he handed it to Mr. Barleybrew, the inventive brewmaster. Rather than indulging in a smoke, Mr. Barleybrew infused the shimmerweed into a famous stout, which he found delicious. Despite being high, he enlisted Scorp in transporting a cask of the shimmerweed stout to the eastern front of Dunmoro, promising good pay. During the return journey, Scorp encountered Juwan, a peculiar dwarf woman whose robotic responses hinted at something afoot. Testing the theory, he lured leper gnomes to attack her. To his astonishment, she stood there and let the irradiated gnomes slice her up. After a brief moment, her lifeless robotic corpse reanimated, confirming her unnatural state. As a snow leopard and bear tore her apart, he noticed her guild name was called the Wall. Continuing his travels, he encountered more strange figures, including a dwarf who believed himself to be a snow leopard.
Meow!
Wary that the radiation-riddled West may be causing mental deficiencies among the inhabitants, he opted for a shortcut through the mountainous terrain towards Karanos. Along the snowy landscape, he encountered Tundra Magran, a dwarf lamenting the theft of a month's worth of dried meat stolen from him by a giant yeti. Unwilling to ignore the transgression, Scorp, harboring no love for yetis, offered his trusty boomstick and formidable skills as aid. Scorp snuck into the yeti's hideout, and to his surprise, found no yeti present. As he reached for the meat locker, a colossal yeti materialized unexpectedly, launching a ferocious assault. Undeterred, Scorp deftly maneuvered through the onslaught, using incapacitating strikes and precise shots to keep the mighty yeti at bay. Roars of the yeti's demise echoed through the cavern as Scorp emerged virtually unscathed, showcasing his unrivaled combat prowess. For his valiant efforts, he received a handsome reward. With a sense of accomplishment and some minor wealth to his name, Scorp retraced his steps, returning to the familiar refuge of Karanos, where he sat down to rest for the night. In the heart of Karanos, Scorp jolted awake, remnants of his great battles with the giant yeti clinging to his mind. This notorious outlaw had conquered Dunmoro's western and middle territories, leaving townsfolk in awe and yetis and ice trolls in fear, particularly the trolls, who were now bereft of their recreational fun plants, the fabled shimmerweed. With dawn breaking, Scorp's steely gaze shifted eastward, beckoning him to new exploits. His boots crunched on frosty ground as he ventured into the unknown. At Amberstill Ranch, a dire situation was revealed. The prized ram herd faced nocturnal doom from Vagash, another colossal yeti. Unfazed in Vagash's icy lair, he danced with the beast, dodging swipes and landing precise shots, handling it even more easily than the other Yeti to the west. The deadly skirmish showcased Scorp's unmatched skill, and Vagash fell. Despite saving the ranch from nightly terror, ungrateful and stubborn, the ranch owner, Mr. Amberstill, refused to sell him a ram, questioning if he had truly earned the right. Scorp made a point that had he not come to their aid, they would have lost a ram by the next morning anyway. Unfortunately, Mr. Amberstill, being a beta dwarf loser, subservient to the whims of the Ironforge Senate, declined. Leaving Amberstill Ranch behind, Scorp couldn't shake off the frustration of the unearned distrust lingering in the frosty air. Despite all he had done for the dwarven people of Dunmorrow, his reputation among the stubby folk remained disappointingly low. Scorp reached a quarry camp, bustling with dwarven activity. Soon, he caught wind of a new task, an urgent request to eradicate trogs infesting the quarry's heart.
I wish I could go down there and wring every one of their scrawny little necks. I want to kill them all!
Taking on the mission, Scorp descended into the depths, the clash of steel against hardened flesh echoing as he dispatched trog after trog. Emerging victorious, Scorp received payment and a temporary respite at the camp. His supplies replenished and hunger satiated, he prepared to resume his eastward journey. The snowy expanse gave way to the southern outpost, marking the threshold of new and uncharted territory, enticing Scorp with fresh challenges beyond Dunmorrow's snowy, frigid lands. Completing the delivery of Mr. Barleybrew's Shimmerweed Stout, he faced the brewer's hearty dwarf brother, a mountaineer with an infectious grin. The dwarf eagerly imbibed the potent brew. As the stout worked its magic, he couldn't help but question the wisdom of having an outpost guard under the influence. Scorp bid farewell to Dunmorrow's wintry embrace. Venturing through a tunnel beneath towering mountains, he emerged in a valley with a chilly but bearable atmosphere, a welcome relief from the freezing cold. Traversing the valley, the landscape transformed from snow to vibrant green, mossy grass. Determined to find warmth, he followed the path, and smoke in the distance hinted at a settlement. Thelsamar, a lively town, welcomed him with open arms. Amidst Thelsamar's lively streets, a peculiar scene unfolded. Two dwarves engaged in a mysterious transaction. Intrigued, he inquired, discovering they were trading in something essential for maintaining the stout dwarf's luscious facial hair.
Beard oil!
Realizing the irrelevance to his modest beard, he tactfully withdrew from the exchange. Navigating Thelsamar's lively streets, he encountered Cadril, a mountaineer guard, with a tempting offer. Apparently, easy work awaited him north along the road, promising well-paying courier tasks at a guard tower. Swift earnings for minimal effort appealed to Scorp's pragmatic nature, leading him to accept Cadril's proposition. Refreshed and eager for easy coin, he set forth along the northern road. Reaching the guard tower and meeting Stormpike, a dwarf with an air of authority, he became entrusted with a mission to deliver a crucial letter to Stormwind's dwarven district, detailing Stormpike's desire for a masterfully crafted shield. He agreed for a substantial reward of 6 silver coins. The knowledge that 6 silvers is equivalent to 120 tough baguettes fueled his determination. Journeying back to Ironforge City, he opted for a different path, passing through the Northern Guard outpost. There, he encountered a siege engine pilot sharing a troubling tale, a friend missing in the hills. Eager to help, he volunteered to investigate. Following the trail, he discovered the missing dwarf's bloody corpse, evidence of a vicious predator's assault. Pragmatically, he claimed the fallen dwarf's chain vest as a practical reward, reasoning its owner wouldn't need it in the afterlife. Undeterred by the grisly scene, he ventured deeper into the hills, facing a formidable adversary, a large, blood-stained white bear named Mange Claw. Unfazed, the seasoned mercenary skillfully defeated the creature, severing its paw as evidence. Returning to the outpost, he presented the grisly trophy to the siege engine pilot, who, true to his word, rewarded him with a finely crafted dagger, truly a detour well worth the reward. Inspecting his newfound melee weapon, he pondered adding an improved ranged weapon to his arsenal. He retraced his steps to the warmer valley. His quest for a new boomstick drew him back to Thelsamar, where rumors of a hunter's lodge nestled in the hills to the east beckoned. Embarking eastward, he navigated the countryside, avoiding giant tarantulas and the watchful gaze of hungry black bears. The sprawling loch, named Modan by the dwarves, unfolded its beauty, a contrast to the small, frozen lakes of Dunmorrow. Spotting the mountain lodge, he made his way to the rustic haven, encountering Darrell, a brash character who mocked Scorp for his small boomstick. A bet arose to settle whose boomstick truly deserved the title of the biggest chungus. The challenge: kill a flock of giant buzzards within 15 minutes. Underestimating the threat, he accepted, confident in facing mere buzzards. Reality shattered as the massive and aggressive buzzards proved elusive, outmaneuvering his bullets, somehow able to move at Mach 5 simply by being 3 to 4 levels higher. Forced into close quarters combat, he fought tooth and nail against each relentless assailant, seemingly facing stacked odds. Amidst the chaotic struggle, an unexpected savior emerged in the form of a pink-haired gnome woman. Despite initial reservations about gnomes, Scorp's perspective shifted when the gnome mage wielded time magic to heal him, reversing the toll of the buzzard's onslaught.
Hi!
Grateful, he reassessed his biases towards gnomekind.
OMG! Why?
Expressing thanks to the gnome mage,
Recruiting!
Scorp's appreciation soured as she exhibited peculiar quirks typical of her kind. Reminded of his dislike for gnomes, he swiftly concocted an excuse to part ways, leaving the peculiar gnome to her whims.
I am cute! No worries. Goodbye, human!
Returning to Daryl with freshly butchered buzzard beaks, he observed the once boastful man, now humbled. A triumphant feeling surged as Daryl begrudgingly acknowledged Scorp's victory. The sensation made Scorp's boomstick much larger as a testament to his greater manliness and success. He now wielded a weapon capable of unleashing larger, more potent shots. Anyway, he resumed his journey to Ironforge City, determined to deliver the important letter to the dwarven blacksmith. Traveling through the subway, he encountered Monty, a gnome dressed as a pirate, despite the absence of a nearby sea, for hundreds of miles.
Yar! Yar, you're looking for work? We got a serious rats problem down here, and not enough hands on the poop deck.
Monty enlisted his skills. Using the gnome's flute, he lured subway rats from hiding and hypnotized them, while Monty, in pirate regalia, slapped them unconscious and crated them.
Into thy box, me pretties. That's it! One by one ye go!
Arriving at his destination, he met Nipsey, Monty's brother, who revealed an unconventional purpose for the hypnotized rats: rat kebabs. Repulsed, yet pleased to receive the promised payment, he accepted, contemplating the surely illegal culinary creations crafted by the gnome siblings. Successfully delivering Stormpike's important letter to Furin Longbeard, the dwarven blacksmith in Stormwind's dwarven district, he received his coin reward, marking the completion of his courier business. With heavier pockets, he entered the bustling trade district, seeking opportunities to enhance his gear. However, the cost of magical enchantments posed a financial hurdle. Acknowledging his limited funds, his eyes on preserving his hard-earned coin, he sought alternative means to feed himself later that day. Turning attention to Stormwind's canals, he took up fishing, casting his line in pursuit of a bountiful catch. With a haul of freshly caught fish, he headed to a local tavern to showcase his own culinary skills. He accessed the local bank. Withdrawing his vast supply of leather from the storage box, he headed to a leatherworking shop in Stormwind. There, he meticulously crafted the hides into a new set of armor, a much-needed upgrade from his worn-out clothing. However, the profit from selling surplus armor barely covered the initial expense, as the cost of fine thread took a considerable toll on his coin purse. Determined to replenish his funds, he sought new opportunities. His path led him to the SI-7 headquarters in Stormwind, where Matthias Shaw, the secretive organization's leader, presented a unique proposition. The mission was straightforward. Travel south to the Nazfariti River in Elwyn Forest, locate a goblin dockmaster, and discreetly pickpocket a fishing schedule from him without drawing his attention.
What's that noise? I smell an intruder.
Upon successful completion, Scorp's return journey brought an unexpected encounter with a character named Pain Tear. Attempting conversation by asking what he likes to paint, he was met with a fearful expression as the painter hastily retreated, upon realizing the play on words in his chosen name.
Stranger danger! Stay away!
If you're going to have the word, pain, in your name, as a way to invoke fear in your enemies, always be careful to consider the other letters carefully. At the East Vale logging camp, as a token of appreciation for his service, he was gifted a red shirt. Seemingly unusual and mostly useless, the garment bore a bold hue, hinting at danger, a fitting addition to his collection. The prospect of blending in with the notorious Defias Brotherhood crossed his mind, contemplating the addition of a mask to complete the disguise. Westfall awaited. Battling sly spellcasters along the way, Scorp's trademark move, A swift kick right in the middle of their incantations left them sputtering curses rather than a single spell cast. Post-skirmish, enter Henk, a paladin yearning for the spotlight that Scorp so effortlessly commanded. Flexing muscles to assert dominance, Henk took the opportunity to make himself look good in front of the camera. Westfall welcomed him with relentless sunshine and sandy mud, a coastal breeze that stung his eyes. This land had been dying for a long time. The Furlbrows, in need of oats to feed Blanchy, their wagon horse, and a fancy pocket watch needing retrieval from thieving bandits, enticed him into assistance with promises of worthwhile rewards. Scorp set out among the abandoned farm nearby. Perfectly good sacks of oats lay curiously close, prompting him to question why the Furlbrows hadn't secured it themselves. Just as he pondered the peculiar proximity of oats to the Furlbrows, crop-harvesting robots came alive and attempted to cut the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And by that, just to be clear, they tried to slice his head off. Reprogrammed by the Defias bandits, these once friendly machines used for wheat harvesting now turned their mechanisms on the living. The metallic giants encircled Scorp, rendering his usual tricks ineffective. Barely escaping, he realized that his daggers wouldn't do much against rusted metal. Undeterred, he ventured west to a farm overrun by Defias bandits. Stealth became his strategy. He circled, eyeing oat sacks without alerting these beefed-up foes. In a barn, Scorp, concealed, spotted his prize. Employing expert parkour skills, he ascended silently, hidden from the bandits. Descending without a sound, he subdued one before cutting down the other, stumbling upon a letter addressed to the bandit himself.
The getaway plan is a go. We leave tonight. There's just one last thing. I've hidden a stash of equipment up in the Dagger Hills, in the back entrance to the Dead Mines. The key to the stash is in this envelope. Hopefully we won't need it, but you never know. I'm so relieved we can finally leave this Defias business behind us. By this time tomorrow, we'll be kicking back on the beaches of Stranglethorn. Yours, always, Emily.
Scorp felt a pang of remorse. The least he could do is find this Emily, perhaps now that she's single. He can make a move. Approaching the bandit-infested farmhouse, he set his sights on a new goal. The elusive pocket watch belonging to Mr. Furlbrow, possibly tucked away in the house. Aware of potential danger, he steeled himself for the task ahead. Surveying the situation, he noticed multiple bandits inside, but his attention shifted to a peculiar gnome. Uncovering the gnome's plan to sneakily retrieve the pocket watch, Scorp, with a wry smile, outsmarted the inventor, mastering the technique before the gnome could execute it himself. Triumphant, he emerged with oats and the pocket watch, graciously accepting lukewarm milk and stale bread from the Furlbrows, both of which had been sitting in the sun since 2004. Scorp journeyed south, the cracked dirt path leading him through Westfall's resilient landscape. The Saldine farm awaited, where the proud Mr. and Mrs. Saldine refused to abandon their home. Mr. Saldine's offer to deactivate haywire harvest robots in return for coins appealed to Scorp's profit-seeking instincts. Inside the farmhouse, Mrs. Saldine presented a list of ingredients to be collected, in return for a pair of oven gloves and a kitchen knife. Scorp begrudgingly agreed, realizing that in Westfall, even seemingly trivial tasks contributed to his growing reputation. Before tackling the Saldine's requests, he turned his attention to the elusive Emily, the mysterious letter's author. Journeying south in search of the Defias hideout, he discovered a small dock by the ocean. This led him to an abandoned walled-off tunnel, which resembled an exit more than an entrance. Searching the inside of the tunnel, he found Emily's supplies, but no trace of the elusive writer. A magical rune in the box bestowed blade dancing knowledge, a niche ability upon him. Maybe he would enter a blade dancing competition someday. Scorp left his email address and forged evidence that Emily's now expired boyfriend was cheating on her all along with a murloc while stationed near the coast. He also gave her his number in case she was interested. On the beach, a washed-up supply crate caught Scorp's eye. Waiting for a gnome wizard to distract nearby murlocs, he planned a swift grab. Unfortunately, a lazy murloc who stayed behind noticed him, leading to an unexpected chase. Unable to overpower it, he resorted to mind games, teasing the murloc until boredom prevailed, allowing his escape. Seizing the crate, he outpaced a distracted gnome warlock, surely damaging his reputation among gnome kind, but he didn't care. He faced Murkai, a giant murloc. Alone, Scorp's decision proved folly, until the gnome warlock he outsmarted earlier intervened, saving him from impending doom. he felt pretty bad after that. Grateful for Scorp's assistance with Murkai, the ghostly lighthouse keeper gave a lackluster reward, a simple wooden torch. He sarcastically marveled at the supposed grand prize, and the ghostly lighthouse keeper simply stated that more must be done. The entire coastline must be purged of murlocs. En route to Saldine's farm, he stumbled upon a miraculous oasis, a watering hole where fish defied extinction for over 2 decades. Seizing the opportunity, he ravaged the fish population with his fishing pole, leaving chaos in his wake. Engaging in a hunting spree, he pursued giant birds and small boars. In an unconventional move, he left prime cuts to rot, only requiring the snouts, as requested. With a strategic mind, he dismantled haywire harvest robots, skillfully leveraging fences to confuse their targeting systems. Continuing his quest, he faced larger boars on a desolate western road. Quick thinking saved him from a giant boar's tusks, showcasing the importance of using your environment as an advantage. Stumbling upon a human wizard in a struggle with a coyote, he dispatched the beast and, true to his nature, pestered the wizard, pretending to be a creepy pumpkin merchant.
Howdy.
Unexpectedly, the plan backfired. The wizard appreciated Scorp's peculiar compliments, and he found himself unable to get the wizard to leave his hunting grounds.
I'm blushing. Why, thank you.
In an unrelated moment, he stood on a copper ore vein, declaring his claim.
Get it.
A kind woman changed her mind and let him have it. Unbeknownst to her, he lacked mining skills, so she lost out on the copper ore vein, for no reason at all. Westfall's unexpected niceties left him uneasy, prompting him to inject mischief into the otherwise friendly environment. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Reaching the coastal shores, he undertook the unsettling task of hunting murlocs for Salma Saldine's culinary experiments. Seeking salty eyeballs to complement the vulture meat and boar snouts in her Westfall stew, the peculiar combination tested Scorp's culinary boundaries. In an unintentional rivalry with a human priest, Scorp, attempting solo kills, finally conceded to collaborate. The priest, who made strange noises and spoke in third person, led the charge. The revelation, Bubblebot, seemingly human, was actually a gold farming bot.
Beep. Boop.
Bubblebot needs coast runners.
Following Bubblebot along the coastline, he couldn't resist the tempting trail of loot left by the mechanical mayhem.
Bubblebot needs warriors.
Observing Bubblebot's miniature clones aiding in the Murloc genocide, he expressed concern for their well-being.
They are disposable.
Curiosity led him to ask about Bubblebot's perception of him. Was he also disposable?
Daggerman is friend.
The simple response put him at ease. Attempting to share his own tremendous tales, he found Bubblebot disinterested in his past.
Bubblebot lives a sheltered life.
Learning about Bubblebot's sheltered existence explained his robotic companion's lack of interest in his otherwise highly interesting stories. In return for Bubblebot's openness, he admitted the task of wiping out all the Murlocs exceeded his capabilities, and that he was grateful for Bubblebot's aid. Scorp voiced concerns to Bubblebot, questioning the wisdom of targeting larger Murlocs. Bubblebot confidently asserted it could handle anything. As carnage unfolded, he gleaned important life lessons from Bubblebot, including the true meaning of life.
The, answer to life is 42.
Upon recounting his victory in Dunmorrow and the mighty Vegash's defeat, Scorp's tale earned an oddly genuine reply from Bubblebot.
Well done, Daggerman.
After completing its program directive, Bubblebot declared its mission complete. Their alliance, born out of convenience, had sadly reached its conclusion. Like all gold farming bots, Bubblebot was still bound to its primary directive. Unable to break from its Chinese programming, Bubblebot bid farewell, leaving him to continue his journey alone. Aware of Bubblebot's inevitable fate with Blizzard's banhammer, he departed the lighthouse with sorrow. Back in the southern fields, a random human warlock's invitation to deactivate harvest robots was accepted, but sadly, the human warlock lacked the camaraderie of Bubblebot. The self-centered warlock grated on Scorp's nerves, intensifying with each passing moment. Enduring enough, he vanished, leaving the oblivious warlock alone against harvest robots.
Bro, where did you go?
Observing her near destruction from hiding, he decided to exit before becoming entangled in the aftermath. Passing through Sentinel Hill, he was challenged to a duel by a human warrior. He accepted, unknowingly setting the stage for a showdown that would test his mettle and alter his journey forever. In a defining moment, he faced a human warrior's challenge in Sentinel Hill. Tactical finesse abandoned him, and standing unstealthed within charging distance, led to a swift and harsh charge from the warrior. Quick on his feet, he aimed to build distance for a ranged assault, but faced an unexpected wind from Golganeth himself, which blew away his bullet, causing his shot to miss, denying him of his chance to slow the warrior. Scorp attempted a quick stealth, as he had been away from the warrior for some time. Yet the Titans themselves deemed him to still be in combat, so he could not escape to the shadows. Even so, fate had decided that the warrior, on the other hand, was out of combat, allowing the warrior another charge, securing his victory, and leaving Scorp to skulk away in defeat. This humbling experience became a vow for Scorp, never to forgo an opportunity, to use every dirty trick at his disposal. Returning to Farmer Saldine, he received new leggings, a thoughtful gesture. But why did Mr. Saldine want to offload his old leggings so much? Inside, he presented the vile ingredients to Salma Saldine: slimy boar snouts, gungy vulture flesh, sunken smelly murloc eyes, and brown shredded okra, collected from the mechanical guts of harvest robots. Scorp received a repulsive stew as a reward, envisioning it as potential poison for his weapon, rather than something edible. He was also given a recipe, but he knew that he'd never waste this much time collecting all these annoying ingredients, just for some nasty-ass stew. Soon afterwards, he encountered an actual human priest, a woman, wearing attire unbefitting of her station. When questioned, the priestly woman had all the excuses in the book. Apparently, she was forced to wear nothing but a magical thong, because it increased her spirit levels. Scorp suggested she increase her spiritual relationship with the holy light instead, rather than dressing up like she's at a Furbolg orgy. The woman rolled her eyes, so he went about his day. Tomorrow, he would venture to familiar lands in search of a myth, a secret weapon that would give him an edge in future battles. The path lay open, and Scorp, ever the opportunist, was ready to seize his destiny. In the quiet dawn, Scorp emerged from the Saldine's farmhouse, bathed in the morning sun. Beneath the surface, his pride lingered in tatters, haunted by memories of yesterday's defeat in a duel with a warrior. Traversing towards Stormwind City, he sought redemption as he entered the trade district. The crowd swallowed him, a sea of faces weaving through the marketplace like a river of sweaty classic WoW Andes. Hidden amidst labyrinthine streets was the elusive SI-7 headquarters. Here, he sought knowledge of new skills. Investing in the art of lockpicking, he recognized the potential of accessing locked chests, usually unavailable to the common peasant. Before long, he had journeyed back to the rugged embrace of Lochmodan's Green Valley. In Thelsamar, he found odd jobs while he prepared to search for the fabled magical rune that would grant him mastery over the saber-slash technique. Within the inn, the dubious dish, Thelsamar blood sausages, required strange ingredients, a request from the innkeeper.
I can't wait for you to taste my famous Thelsamar blood sausage.
Scorp was unsure if this was all some sick hazing ritual. The first task appeared straightforward: collect bear meat from the black bears in the hills. You'd be surprised to find that many of these black bears were composed entirely of skin and bone. No meat to be had at all. The second task led him to face giant tarantulas, their dark green ichor oozing from their huge mandibles. Wondering if this was even safe to eat, he extracted the unsavory substance. The third task required him to harvest intestines from boars. Fortuitously, his Westfall adventure had left him with a stock of boar intestines that had been sitting there, uselessly decaying in his boar intestine pouch. Northbound, he encountered an old friend, the hearty dwarf, Stormpike. Entrusted with a mission to recover lost dwarven mining equipment, he pondered the curious origin of these creatures, imagining their creation to be the result of a gnome rizzing up some deep-run tram rodents. Before plunging into the kobold-infested mine, he took a detour. Whispers hinted at a magical rune atop the giant dam overlooking the loch. Scaling the towering structure, he found the elusive rune nestled within a random toolbox. Scorp parkoured down the dam with nimble grace, before unleashing the power of a new skill, the saber-slash technique. Armed with his newfound ability, he delved into the kobold-infested mine, the saber-slash technique proving formidable. Swift and precise, his daggers danced through the shadows. Within the dimly lit mine, an unexpected encounter awaited Scorp, an oddity named Sneaky Kindness, a human donned in an innkeeper's daughter's dress. Puzzled, yet curious, he inquired if the crossdresser knew of the saber slash technique, discovering the peculiar man already held mastery over the skill Scorp had just unlocked.
Yes, sir? Yes.
Scorp came to the realization that he was pretty far behind the bell curve when it comes to mastering new techniques. Returning the lost mining equipment, he made his way back to Thelsamar's Inn, a haven of warmth. In Thelsamar's Inn, bear meat, spicy spiderica, and out-of-date boar intestines combined to create Thelsamar blood sausages. He was certain the entire town would be retching up this vile creation by the morrow, from both ends. To save coin and replenish supplies, he sought the company of a local fisherman. As he patiently waited for the fish to bite, a flickering campfire provided both warmth and a subtle reminder of the potential hazards that come with open flames on a wooden dock. With a successful catch in hand, he returned to the towering dam. However, the peaceful setting soon gave way to tension as he stumbled upon two dark iron dwarves, terrorists plotting to unleash chaos upon the dam. Swift to act, he unholstered his trusty boomstick, firing shots from a safe distance. Yet, the resilient dwarven foes closed in, their intentions clear. Retribution through a good old-fashioned, racially motivated beating. Facing a dire situation, he relied on his unique parkour skills. He danced between a mountain ledge and the wall with a fluidity that defied the dwarves' attempts to catch him. In the face of their stubby-legged pursuit, the dwarves stumbled like drunken revelers, hindered by their lack of agility. In a twist of desperation, the nearly defeated Dark Iron Dwarf revealed his grim plan. He had become a suicide bomber fueled by twisted vengeance.
If I'm going down, I'm taking you and the dam with me!
As the wick burned, he sprinted forward, delivering a swift kick to the dwarf's face. With the immediate threat neutralized, he faced an unexpected dilemma, the open gunpowder that could still pose a danger to the dam. Ever resourceful, he unceremoniously relieved himself on the volatile mixture, quenching the spark that could have spelled disaster. Heading south, Scorp met a stranded gnome named Bingles, pilot of a crashed F-22 Raptor, who sought assistance.
As if crashing into the loch wasn't bad enough.
His homemade creation lay battered on the shores of Loch Modan, while his tools were stolen by trogs who inhabited an island in the middle of the loch. He embarked on a mission to recover Bingles's precious parts from the trogs' clutches. These trogs, cut off from the land, survived on their isolated island, unable to swim yet resilient enough to survive through thousands of genocides spanning 20 years. Amidst the copper-laden island, a friendly dwarf with pickaxe in hand laid claim to a copper mining vein. Scorp merely waved, and the dwarf backed down, leaving the rest of the bounty for the seasoned outlaw. The valley surrounding Loch Modan felt like home, a place where dwarven respect had welcomed him. Returning to the shore, he delivered Bingles's salvaged tools, the gnome expressing gratitude.
Thank you, oh high and mighty Scorpid. I will never forget your kindness and generosity.
Despite Bingles being a filthy gnome, payment exchanged hands, sealing the deal and affirming that money talks. The next chapter of Scorp's adventure led him back into the hills, revisiting the Hunter's Lodge where he had crossed paths with that guy Daryl from before. Time had worn away at Daryl's respect for Scorp. Now, Daryl proposed another bet, aiming to earn back his coveted boomstick. The challenge? He must hunt 5 large mountain boars within a mere 12 minutes. Eager to show Daryl he could put some dirt in his eye, he agreed to the hunt. The large mountain boars proved to be no easy prey. Their advanced age had granted them considerable size, having thrived on the bountiful lands for years. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he emerged victorious. Daryl, acknowledging the mercenary's skill, begrudgingly handed over his favorite t-shirt as a measly reward.
Oh no, my favorite t-shirt.
The echoes of Scorp's success reached the ears of a keen-eyed dwarf, recognizing potential. His task involved hunting crocolisks for their prize-scaled hides and reptilian meat. En route to the crocolisk hunting grounds, he stumbled upon an excavation team in dire straits. Invading trogs, larger and more menacing than any he had encountered before, had laid waste to the team, leaving the excavation site in chaos. Ever the hero, he cut through the giant trogs with precision, seeking to recover the stolen idols. As a reward for his valiant efforts, the leader of the excavation team bestowed upon him a cache of powerful weapons. A sword, named Trog Slicer, seemed tailor-made for the task at hand, yet he was denied its use until after the battle. He accepted the blade, only to exchange it for silver coins in the town of Thelsamar. In the shadowy hills around Loch Modan, he pursued the legendary bear known as Sooty, a formidable creature rumored to be the biggest black bear in the valley. As he approached the bear's lair, he encountered a gnome and a dwarf, both trembling at the thought of facing the mighty beast. The mercenary's mere presence brought confidence to the pair, and together they confronted the giant bear. The trio brought down Sooty effortlessly. He claimed the giant bear's head, somehow managing to stuff it into a small pouch on his belt. Having conquered Sooty, he swam into the loch, discovering an island he named Crocolisk Town, a gathering of the biggest and baddest crocolisks. Crocolisks, unlike everyday crocodiles, have 6 legs, enabling them to move on land and swim through the water much more quickly. Scorp quickly identified the king of the crocs, due to him looking different from all the rest, the classic sign of a leader. As the alpha croc emerged, he swiftly dispatched it, signaling a power shift among the crocolisks. The crocolisks, hungry for being the biggest, baddest croc in the loch, continued to take the places of their fallen brethren as they attempted to fill the power vacuum. Exploiting this dynamic, Scorp amassed a bounty of skins and meat. Returning triumphant, he presented the giant bear head to Daryl, knowing that Daryl would never dare question his skill again. He sought out the dwarven crocolisk hunter, anticipating a reward for his efforts. However, the hunter's reward, a rugged cloak, was accompanied by a recipe for crocolisk meat stew. To Scorp's dismay, he realized the recipe was essentially useless without the key ingredient he had just handed over. He had been scammed.
Ha ha! You just got trolled!
Overall, he deemed his time in the loch and its surrounding valley a success. With his new saber-slash technique, a hefty coin purse, and the admiration of those he encountered, he felt ready to return to the human kingdom. Loch Modan had witnessed the feats of the outlaw and mercenary, and others would soon come to know the tale of the Scorpid. In the ramshackle Westfall bunkhouse, rain trickled through the roof, chilling Scorpid's cheeks. An unwanted gnome intruder leapt over his bed, pissing him off. Grumbling, he ordered the midget to cease its annoying behavior, surprisingly succeeding in making it stop. A dwarven woman insulted him after he made the gnome weep. He mocked her bare, hairy feet, sending her fleeing in embarrassment. Scorpid bid Westfall farewell, seeking better weather in the east. While strolling through Elwyn Forest, he came across a deer named Bambi, and its protective mother. The hunter in him twitched, eager to use his boomstick. A moment of weakness or compassion held his trigger-happy fingers back, and he let them live. As he journeyed, an unwitting bovine named Bessie crossed his path. He attempted a forceful kick to clear his way, inadvertently causing Bessie's untimely demise. Outside Goldsha's tavern, he encountered a fine woman, a rogue at that. Awkwardly, he extended an olive branch by offering her some raw fish.
I'm good on fish, but thanks.
It was worth a try. You miss every goal you don't shoot, after all. Continuing eastward, he set his sights on the Red Ridge Mountains for lucrative opportunities in the town of Lakeshire. Surprisingly, the woman followed his path, sparking optimism.
I'm going to Lakeshire.
Scorpid questioned her, hopeful for a reconsideration of his fishy offering.
No, thank you.
He found her evasive instead. He tried small talk, acknowledging their shared journey.
Someone's got to deliver these horseshoes.
The woman, eager to build distance between them, sought shortcuts to escape him. Scorpid complimented her hair. However, instead of fostering dialogue, it prompted a more pronounced shortcut to be taken by the other rogue as she tried to evade Scorpid's great company. Undeterred, he sprinted after the woman, determined to salvage the moment. He fumbled hard, mistakenly asking a rogue of all things if she'd fancy a mana potion.
I'm a rogue. I don't need mana.
He boldly questioned if she was intentionally following him, entertaining the idea of secret affection.
Horseshoes. Lakeshire.
Realizing he'd made a terrible blunder, Scorpid sheepishly departed. In Lakeshire, Verna Osgood tasked him with delivering a note, demanding horseshoes from Smith Argus of Goldshire, a perplexing request considering Lakeshire's horseless stables. In the Lakeshire Tavern, Darcy, a captivating waitress, offered him a free lunch for delivering a sandwich to her boyfriend, Guard Parker. Misinterpreting it as a date, he accepted, echoing great wisdom. Just because there's a goalie doesn't mean you can't score. Barkeep Daniels shared that the town's tavern suffered from a lack of booze, and he presented a courier opportunity for a hefty sack of silver coins. Scorpid eagerly accepted. On the Lakeshire dock, he encountered a city kid called Sean. Unimpressed by the offer of a simple thanks for retrieving Sean's girlfriend's necklace from the lake, he scoffed, unwilling to be Sean's wingman without proper payment. Foreman Oslo sought Scorpid's help retrieving a toolbox from the lake. Annoyed again for the lack of a meaningful reward, Scorpid insisted the foreman put on swimming trunks and go get it himself. On his way to Darkshire for barkeep Daniel's moonshine, he encountered Mr. Parker and handed over the sandwich from Darcy.
Ah, you brought my lunch. My sister Darcy always makes the best pickle and cheese sarnies.
Scorpid was confused. Darcy had referred to Mr. Parker as her boyfriend.
Ah, yes. She is also my girlfriend. It's a small town, you see. Not many options here in Lakeshire.
Scorpid quickly departed, deciding he wasn't interested in that free lunch anymore. Armed with a flaming torch to light his way in the perpetually dusk-shrouded duskwood, he ventured forth. In Darkshire, he sought barkeep Han for his coveted moonshine. A steep price of over 11 silver coins surprised Scorpid, but he bought it anyway. With the bottle in hand, he journeyed to Stormwind City, encountering Roberto Pupelli Verbos at the Galena winery. Scorpid found Roberto's accent extremely annoying, and he invested over 7 silver coins for a cask of Merlot before departing quickly. Passing through Goldshire, he delivered Werner Osgood's letter to Smith Argus, where he accepted a crate of horseshoes in return. He also acquired a skin of sweet rum from barkeep Dobbins at Goldshire's Lion's Pride Tavern, the liquor costing in excess of 6 silver coins. As he traversed the path to the Red Ridge Mountains, his thoughts lingered on the woman who had slipped away. The fleeting fish, runaway rabbit, fleeing fox, skittering spider, and escaping pigeon all described her well. Having delivered the horseshoes to Werner Osgood in Lakeshire, Scorpid encountered a peculiar dwarf, Lucius, cunningly enhancing his stature by standing atop of one of those large stilts. Lucius tasked him with picking the lock on a secret chest hidden in a lumber mill to the north. Returning to the tavern, barkeep Daniels was grateful for the assortment of booze collected. Eagerly opening the coin bag, Scorpid discovered 40 silver coins. The thrill was short-lived, however, realizing the cost of all this booze was over half of his reward anyway. Avoiding an awkward encounter with Darcy, he found himself speaking with the local flower merchant. She was troubled by her precious daffodils that had been trampled by the giant hog, Bellygrub. Taking on the task of butchering the beast, Scorpid armed his boomstick. As the beast charged like a freight train, he realized the peril. Bellygrub's attacks were relentless, while Scorpid's bullets seemed feeble. Thinking on his feet, he utilized fences surrounding the flower garden to evade the ferocious hog. The relentless pursuit took its toll on Bellygrub, succumbing to exhaustion and a myriad of cuts from Scorpid's erratic marksmanship. Seeking respite after the battle, he indulged in bananas from a nearby vendor, a well-earned treat. The grateful flower merchant showered Scorpid with a bouquet and handsome payment. Scorpid set out to fulfill Lucius's task, facing danger on the road north as an orcish ambush squad launched a surprise attack. Reaching the lumber mill, giant tarantulas threatened the area. Scorpid joined forces with a dwarven priest besieged by the arachnid menace. Together, they fought off the 8-legged assailants. Scorpid pointed to a half-dressed woman laying dead nearby and questioned the dwarf.
Beach weather, I suppose.
In the mill, Scorpid seized the opportunity presented by the nearby practice lock chests. Finally, with finely tuned lockpicking skills, he deftly unlocked Lucius's secret chest, revealing a simple note telling him to return to Lucius. Satisfied, Lucius rewarded him with a certificate of thievery. This certificate, alongside his previously acquired school certificate of good behavior and certificate of good attendance, served as a testament to Scorpid's capabilities for potential employers. Achieving financial stability, he made his way to Stormwind City to purchase the coveted magical rune from the supply officer. Despite the considerable cost of 2 gold, depleting his savings entirely, this enchanted artifact would pave the way for him to lead his own tactical assault team into the treacherous depths of the Dead Mines. Scorpid returned to Westfall, where atop Sentinel Hill, Gryan's Stoutmantle awaited. Recognizing Scorpid's readiness, the seasoned marshal greenlit Scorpid's planned assault against Edwin Van Cleef, the notorious leader of the Defias Brotherhood.
You've got this, bro. I believe in you.
Gryan's strategy involved utilizing a Defias traitor to guide him to the Brotherhood's hideout. Unfortunately, it had begun to rain. The Defias traitor fooled around, further irritating Scorpid.
Follow me, I'll lead you to the Defias hideout. Sadly, I am a scrawny loser, so you'll have to protect me from my ex-friends. I actually ditched them because they called me the runt of the litter. But I'm not weak and useless, right, Scorpid? Hey, wait, I'm not, right? Right?
The elusive hideout was discovered. Again, Scorpid didn't need the traitor's help. But the quest wouldn't complete unless the traitor himself had discovered it. Seated at the entrance to the Defier's hideout, Scorpid selected the best candidates he could find for his tactical assault team. Scorpid picked all the women he could find, preferring to maintain his manly authority during the mission.
Can my paladin friend join? Pretty decent level 25, so worth the wait.
Scorpid begrudgingly accommodated the dwarven male. Testing his newfound durability granted by the magical rune, he took the brunt of the assault from the rabble and runts of the mine. As they delved deeper into the caves, Aliyin, a mage, and Sarosa, a warlock, finally caught up. He was dismayed to find out 2 of the women in his team were trifling gnomes. The team encountered an unopened chest with valuable loot inside. Scorpid proposed a dice roll to determine the opener. His lucky number of 4 proved insufficient with a 100-sided dice. In the heart of the Defier's hideout, they faced ghoulish undead miners who were armed with sticks of explosive dynamite. Shep Moden, the male dwarven paladin, lagged behind in joining the team, prompting Scorpid to showcase his dance moves to boost morale and impress the ladies while he still could. Fast forward to shortly after Shep Moden's arrival, and Sarosa had bailed, and the remaining 3, Kilana, Aliyin, and the troublesome dwarf paladin himself, lay inexplicably lifeless on the cold cavern floor. I wonder whose fault this could be. Well, it certainly wasn't Scorpid's.
Who is tanking?
Sorry for pulling!
The giant ogre and the mechanical mayhem awaited, formidable obstacles standing between the team and Van Cleef's demise.
The light has proven itself again!
Despite Shep Modan's inspiring words, Scorpid's equipment proved weaker than ideal, and the team's damage output fell short. In the furnace's boiler room, Shep Moden's misplaced drop into a room full of goblins was a grave error. The dwarven paladin, Kilana, and Aliyin succumbed to the overwhelming forces of goblins and robots. Recognizing the dire situation, Scorpid and Papadrip, a male gnome who'd been recruited in place of Sarosa, made a hasty retreat. Though most of the team crawled away battered but alive, the healer, Priest Kilana, was not as fortunate. The weight of failure settled upon them as they regrouped. Their mission had failed.
Sorry! The light has not favored me! I'm sorry!
After leaving the dark, unforgiving tunnels, the team disbanded.
Anyone mind helping me with my pally quest?
Despite Shep Moden's substantial role in their demise, twice, mind you, Scorpid extended a helping hand to the dwarf. Miraculously, Shep Moden completed his paladin quest with Scorpid's intervention.
Thank you! May the light shine on you always!
Grateful, Shep Modan rewarded him with a generous gift, a gold coin worth 100 silver coins. Fate had smiled upon Scorpid today after all. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting its golden glow upon Westfall, Scorpid reflected on the day's events. With the gold coin in hand, he vowed to return, stronger and better equipped. Beneath scratchy blankets at Sentinel Hill's bunkhouse, Scorpid awoke to a morning promising adventure and aching reminders of yesterday's dead mind's beating. His feeble daggers were like fighting with toothpicks. Useless. He clutched his gold coin. Time for an upgrade. At the weapon shop in Stormwind City, Swordmaster Wu Ping taught Scorpid how to properly wield a one-handed sword. His dagger swapped for a mighty blade, his saber slash technique might actually do some damage next time. In the deep-run tram subway, Scorpid's taunts and midget jokes targeted a gnomish freak. Yet the gnome remained unmoving, silently watching him, eyes gleaming mysteriously. After boarding the tram, the gnome mysteriously followed him on, silent as ever. Uneasy in the gnome's company, Scorpid tried for a position of dominance, positioning himself in an embarrassing front-and-center display. A sly smirk adorned Scorpid's lips, relishing in the gnome's discomfort. Finally, the gnome's illusion of calm and cool snapped. Swift retaliation. A fire shield, a warning that sent Scorpid into the air. Message received. Keep your crotch out of his face. Scorpid's subway journey led him to Ironforge. Besides the Winter Veil tree, perched on Greatfather Winter's knee, he dared a request for a toy, promising Scorpid a great killing spree. Fate happened to introduce Scorpid to Melnan Darkstone, a clown jester-dressed ginger dwarf, talking up the traveling Darkmoon Fair, scheduled to arrive soon in Elwyn Forest. A ticket voucher entered Scorpid's hand, urging Scorpid to seize the fair's fun and opportunities. Arriving at the fair south of Goldshire, Scorpid eyed the giant Dark Moon storage box on offer. 14 spacious slots beckoned, an upgrade from his meager 8-slot pouches. Eagerly handing over his ticket voucher, he was given 5 free prize tickets. Yet as he explored, Scorpid realized the fair's games wouldn't yield any prize tickets. Organizers demanded costly items like copper modulators, bronze gizmos, and even small furry paws from cats and dogs in order to receive any prize tickets. But then, Scorpid encountered a ghastly figure with peeling skin and pungent odor. The old man was seeking new boots for worn-out Dark Moon carnies. A mischievous grin lit up Scorpid's face, his leatherworking skills a sudden gold mine. The boots, requiring only light leather, became his ticket to the coveted 50 prize tickets. Calculations swirling, 8 pieces per pair, 3 pairs for 5 tickets, 240 pieces of light leather in total. Scorpid took his deadly dance to a nearby field, boars falling victim to his leather-hungry skinning knife. Back to the unsightly man, light leather in hand, Scorpid crafted boots with meticulous precision. Each stitch, a testament to his craftsmanship. The realization that he only had to repeat this dance 8 more times was excitement enough to spur him on. Presenting his crafted bounty, excitement dulled, as the man, while acknowledging top-notch work, offered a mere single ticket. Frustration gnawed at Scorpid, dreams of the Dark Moon storage box slipping away. Angry and disillusioned, Scorpid left, clutching the boots he'd made. Slaughtering 1,000 boars was far too many. Scorpid sold the boots in the Goldshire Tavern, some silver coins filling his pockets. To drown his sorrow, he drank himself into a drunken stupor behind a tree near Goldshire. At least the cheap fair beer was good value for money. Rising from his drunken stupor, Scorpid faced the new day with a clear head and renewed determination. The city beckoned, and with coffers nearly empty, employment became a pressing need. Fate guided him to the secretive SI-7 headquarters, where Matthias Shaw, an old acquaintance, presented a tempting proposition, a covert mission in Westfall, promising generous rewards for skilled operatives. Scorpid hesitated, but ultimately embraced the challenge. Matthias extended a modicum of respect. He even offered a voucher for a complimentary griffin ride to Sentinel Hill. Scorpid soared away from the city, towards the skies of Westfall. He noticed a woman had departed only 1 second later than him. Breaking the griffin ride's silence, Scorpid complimented the woman's green-themed attire.
Love the, butt.
Unease crept over Scorpid, genuine concern for his safety, especially that of his posterior. Confronting the woman, Scorpid expressed the awkwardness now tainting the rest of the flight.
Well, chucks.
As the griffins descended, the moment they touched ground in Westfall, Scorpid vanished into the shadows. Deep in Westfall, Scorpid found his contact, Agent Kernan. Fearing the mission, or perhaps not stupid enough to try, she confessed her reluctance. Fortunately, brave Scorpid stood ready to complete the mission. With Agent Kernan's journal in hand, Scorpid unraveled the intricacies of the perilous mission. Nimble fingers pickpocketed a rotting drone worker, its unsettling resemblance to the Dark Moon Fair bootsman, sending shivers up his spine. The stolen key, now clutched in hand, was the first stage complete. Scorpid stealthily infiltrated the tower, a phantom gliding through darkness. Deafness slipped him past oblivious tower sentries as he ascended the tower's layers. Eavesdropping on some gossiping women, Scorpid uncovered the name Claven, that of a great villain.
Hey, Raven?
Yeah?
Can we take a break? My feet are killing me, and those things down there are creeping me out. Claven doesn't pay me enough to deal with zombies, drones, or whatever he calls them.
I don't know, Jill. If Claven comes down while we're slacking, we may end up as one of those things.
You're probably right, Raven. I'm going back on patrol.
Climbing higher, he reached the zenith, finding Claven standing watch over the chest, contained within the important information. Realizing danger, Scorpid concealed himself behind a wall, activating his ranged ability runes. Facing Claven head-on in melee combat surely meant disaster, so he had to play this safe. The moment arrived. When Scorpid began unlocking the chest, Dr. Claven Mortwake detected the intrusion, charging with unnatural superhuman speed. Scorpid danced away, kiting Claven around the room. His boomstick crackled, gunfire echoing. Claven, eerily resilient, weathered the bullets, and continued to give chase, ready to snap Scorpid's neck if he caught up to it. Nevertheless, Scorpid chipped away, keeping a safe distance. The deadly dance continued until Claven succumbed to hundreds of gunshot wounds, collapsing in defeat. He was fortunate the sentries somehow hadn't heard the gunshots and come to investigate. Puzzled, but lucky, he delved into the chest and found it. Claven's secret diary, a treasure trove of information. Scorpid cracked open the journal. Malevolent magic gripped him, a curse sealing his fate with a 7-day deadline. Scorpid set his sights on a desperate quest to lose his virginity before the curse killed him. With nothing to lose, Scorpid daringly escaped the tower, sentries trying and failing to take him out. He found Agent Kiernan had ditched him just as well. Claven had been the most powerful foe Scorpid had faced as of yet. In Sentinel Hill's desolate quiet, Scorpid sought unlikely companions through his depression, a gnome and a night elf. Reaching out for comfort even in unlikely places, a half-hearted compliment on the gnome's festive hat yielded unexpected consequences, her eccentric nature delving into a creepy and bizarre explanation.
Thanks, I got it after I slaughtered a village of gnolls.
That's dark.
The worst part is that I had to tear off their paws. I think you scared him away.
Weirded out and seeking distance, Scorpid headed to Stormwind. The city's bustle provided a temporary distraction from the looming fate tied to the cursed journal. As the sun dipped, he navigated cobblestone streets, wrestling with his own impending demise. Guided by Matthias, Scorpid descended into the SI-7 headquarters' shadowy depths, reaching the eerie cellar and encountering Dr. Mixil, a peculiar gnome in fine clothing.
Just lay down anywhere, Scorpid. I promise this won't hurt a bit.
Scorpid surrendered to the gnome surgeon's bizarre procedures.
Very interesting.
With a giant syringe, Dr. Mixil drew Scorpid's blood, comparing its properties with counsel from unusual companions, a statue and a squirrel. The diagnosis: Scorpid suffered from the dreaded itis. To secure a cure, Scorpid received a peculiar list of seemingly random items at the request of Dr. Mixil. With no other choice, he embarked on a scavenger hunt through the bustling city. First, simple wildflowers from the flower shop, their importance doubtful. Next, a lead-lined file from the alchemy shop, which at least made sense. In the auction house, Scorpid secured a bronze tube for 3 silver coins. While retrieving it from the mailbox, an unexpected discovery awaited. A concealed, mysterious letter personally addressed to him.
Greetings, Scorpid. I've been observing your handiwork for some time now. I must say, I'm impressed. You're clearly no mere street urchin. There's a job I'd like you to do for me. The retrieval of a certain treasure. I assure you the pay is lucrative. If you're interested, I've left a dead drop in the cabin beside Pyrewood Village. You'll find more information within.
Scorpid pondered the mysterious letter's importance, deciding to tuck it away for an uncertain future. Its secrets awaited should he defy his own death. Determined for a spool of fine thread, Scorpid embarked on a long-winded mission to find the correct tailoring shop, stumbling into the wrong establishments repeatedly. After frustrating attempts, he found the correct tailoring shop. Alone in the silent shop, with no assistance and a dozen choices, Scorpid took a gamble, randomly selecting a spool. Returning to Dr. Mixil with the reagents, Scorpid underwent the itis vaccination and 7 booster shots for good measure. To his surprise, no immediate effects, confusion clouding his mind. The revelation hit. A druid had dispelled his ailment long ago with a simple cure poison spell. Irony wasn't lost on Scorpid. He had been free of the sickness since departing Sentinel Hill. Empathetic, the gnome doctor, sorry for Scorpid's misfortune, taught him the art of mixing poisons. Armed with newfound skills and the skills to apply poisons to his weapons, Scorpid returned to Westfall. Resting in his caravan camp, he brimmed with determination. This time, armed with skills and a burning desire for redemption, Scorpid vowed to carve his name into Westfall's myths and legends. The dead mines awaited. In the dilapidated town of Moonbrook, Scorpid eyed potential allies, hoping to assemble a team for the impending assault. His attempts proved tougher than expected. The stain of his prior defeat loomed, casting a shadow over his reputation. Desperation kicked in, and Scorpid found himself groveling for a spot, even teaming up with the vile lowborn furries. It was a bitter pill, but they were the outcasts desperate enough to accept him. The initiation involved peculiar furry rituals. Begrudgingly, Scorpid endured, for these fellows were his only hope, and the dead mines beckoned. The furries, as it happened, had their sneaky ways of infiltrating the dead mines, skirting the undead miners below by using a logout glitch to teleport them to the entrance. Guided by the lead furry, the crew bulldozed through dead mines' tunnels, eyes set on the blast-proof door guarded by a colossal ogre. In the chaos, the furry pack leader leaned in and whispered to Scorpid.
Rogue tank broken.
Unsure if it was a compliment or insult, Scorpid shrugged it off, focused on the impending brawl. Rak Zor, a hefty level 19 elite ogre, towered menacingly. Armed with a mammoth hammer, the ogre could crush boulders. The challenge was real, and the ogre's oversized weapons were impractical rewards for a rogue like Scorpid. Scorpid bantered with his comrades, flaunting the might of his boomstick.
I hear a big boom every time I order Taco Bell for lunch.
I'ma keep doing fast pulls. I got to go soon.
With the ogre defeated, Scorpid dared to dream of a future where he'd be hailed as the champion and defender of Westfall's people.
All hail Scorpid, defender of the people.
The motley crew of misfits now confronted the next hurdle in the dead mines, Sneed's Shredder, a massive level 20 elite mechanical creation, driven by the lumberyard overlord, Sneed. Sneed's saw blades were infamous for ruthlessly slicing through adventurers, demanding careful strategy. Despite its size, Sneed's shredder moved with lumbering slowness, offering Scorpid and his companions a chance to evade its deadly strikes. Sneed, Lord of the Lumberyard, wielded a small but menacing buzzsaw, a promising upgrade for a man like Scorpid. Scorpid was patient with his team, not wanting to lose anyone before reaching Edwin Van Cleef.
In a min, I have to AFK for like 5 mins.
Scorpid replied, "No problem, Nomeo."
Have to pick my GF up. Oh, wow!
The downtime between assaults on the dead mines proved a challenge for Scorpid. While he sought others to join him, the waiting game was broken only by encounters with injured Horde players. Exploiting their weakened state was his only way of defeating them. At times, Scorpid couldn't find a group and had to approach the ladies. Nervously, he sought permission to join their team, putting aside his manly pride. The Furnace Smelting Room, responsible for melting down the plundered ores stolen from unsuspecting level 11 human warriors in Westfall, loomed ahead. This was where Scorpid and his team had stumbled before, disbanding under the weight of failure. Would history repeat itself? Undeterred by past setbacks, Scorpid guided his team through the boiler room. His attempts to caution less mentally capable allies occasionally fell on deaf ears. Armed with his new swords, the rogue mercenary compensated for cognitive gaps in his team, specifically Ardenhol's smooth brain antics. At the heart of the furnace stood Gilnid, a level 20 elite goblin foreman. Surprisingly unthreatening on his own, Gilnid relied on the overwhelming force of his goblin minions that had just been defeated. Scorpid eyed Gilnid's comfortable smelting pants, an upgrade beckoning to be pilfered and worn. As each step brought them closer to the heart of Van Cleef's lair, and pressure peaked. Certain individuals, often cowardly gnomes, succumbed to fear and quietly vanished from the ranks, leaving the team in disarray. Facing the final blast door, Scorpid utilized his lockpicking expertise, a skill that set him apart from the others. Beyond the blast door, the adventurers faced Mr. Smite, a level 20 elite Minotaur swashbuckler. His thunderous hoof could stun opponents, a trick allowing him to safely swap his weapons during the battle. Among his arsenal was a menacing cutlass catching Scorpid's eye.
I'ma be rolling on hella weapons.
This warrior, while a clown, had the potential to claim Edwin Van Cleef's coveted Cruel Barb, a mighty cutlass that would indubitably find a more deserving home in Scorpid's hands. After a ninja looter's removal from a team, the Fates bestowed a rare bind-on-equip item, the Stormbringer Belt. Though of no personal use to anyone, the prospect of selling it for a handful of gold coins gleamed like treasure in Scorpid's eyes, and Scorpid luckily won the role and claimed his prize. Scorpid stumbled upon an unexpected companion, a green-winged macaw. Rescued from Defias pirates, the vibrant bird named Green-Wing Macaw became a feathered friend by his side. Then came Cookie, a level 20 elite murloc overseeing the culinary affairs of the dead mines. The pale blue murloc's stirring rods and kitchen utensils offered no discernible benefit to the cunning rogue.
These big pulls really aren't that bad, to be honest.
Well, we'll see about that, sweet cheeks. A colossal water wheel emerged as an unexpected ally, providing safety from the pirates, who didn't know how to jump. Yet, to Scorpid's amusement, the evasion proved challenging not only for the pirates, but also for a night elf druid, previously confident, but now struggling with a simple jump.
Damn.
The human warrior faced a dilemma in the Deadmines. He had no time for this.
Let's clear trash while we wait.
As Scorpid navigated the shipyard, a second parrot joined him. Pirates are only supposed to have a parrot on one shoulder, so he bestowed the newfound parrot to a grateful gnome.
Me!
Oh, sure.
Scorpid noticed a curious alliance forming among the gnomes. Seeking control and order, they banded together, one gnome attempting to stand taller than Scorpid by balancing on another's shoulders. Scorpid wasn't so easily fooled.
All we need is a trench coat.
Scorpid began conditioning the gnomes to behave like pirates. All he had to do was ask if they're ready, and they'd reply,
Arr!
Ready.
Climbing up the shipyard, the formidable Captain Greenskin, a level 20 elite goblin pikeman, emerged as a dangerous adversary. Known for hitting hard and fast, his battle prowess was not to be underestimated. Captain Greenskin's fancy belt caught Scorpid's discerning eye, prompting the rogue mercenary to swiftly liberate the useful accessory from the goblin's lifeless form. The human warrior, a peculiar clownish character, always pressed for time, fell victim to Greenskin's fishing spear.
Guys, I gotta go.
In the rush to secure Van Cleef's coveted sword, the warrior's haste proved his undoing, and he succumbed to the swift and deadly attacks of Captain Greenskin. Oh no, what a shame, right before reaching Van Cleef.
The hunter pets can tank. Peter, just burn your ad as fast as you can. I'll burn right, you burn left.
Scorpid pressed on, taking his opportunity to remove Arden Fall from the group. The confrontation with Edwin Van Cleef awaited. Finally, the motley group of adventurers stood before Edwin Van Cleef, the powerful leader of the Defiers Brotherhood. For Scorpid, Van Cleef represented more than a mere villain. He held the key to loot that could elevate the rogue mercenary's status. A rugged Defias vest, a finely crafted Defias cloak, and most crucially, the coveted cruel barbs. Weapons perfect for a rogue like Scorpid. A gnome dared to question Scorpid's insistence on acquiring the Defias vest.
Westfall tunic is better.
The Defias vest, he argued, not only looked cooler, but would complete his outfit like no other piece could. The desire for the Defias vest was more than a quest for better gear. It was a matter of principle. Scorpid had grown weary of imposters tarnishing his name with flashy equipment. He scoffed at the notion of a night elf rogue adopting a name similar to his own, denying her the right to claim it.
Sure can. I'm the original.
He suggested she return to Darkshore, where she supposedly belonged.
You're a fake. I said, you're a phony. A big, fat phony.
Fight!
For Scorpid, the blackened Defias vest symbolized more than an upgrade. It represented respect and the confirmation of his identity. Then it happened. The elusive blackened Defias armor emerged, the final piece to complete Scorpid's envisioned ensemble. Triumph hung in the air, only to be shattered as Bob X. Ross, the night elf hunter, stole it.
Welp?
Frustration gripped Scorpid, but he knew time held infinite possibilities, and surely, in one of these multiverses, the vest would be his. Again, he raided the Deadmines and battled Van Cleef, and fate, it seemed, favored him with a consolation prize, a second cruel barb. While not the coveted armor, it was a potent weapon that softened the blow of his initial loss. Finally, in another timeline, the final piece of the set had dropped, and was in his hands.
There it is.
With two cruel barbs at his side, and the dream of the blackened Defias outfit alive and well, Scorpid bid farewell to the Deadmines. Once outside, Scorpid found himself in an unusual contest with an orc warrior, a comparison of boomstick sizes. Regrettably, the orc wielded a larger one, fueling Scorpid's determination to ensure no one would ever boast superiority over him again. In Stormwind City, determined to solidify his appearance as a formidable rogue, Scorpid invested nearly all his hard-earned gold on a massive sniper rifle and a pair of black shoulder pads. Despite their questionable quality, the pads were very aesthetically pleasing. Soon, the people of Azeroth would come to know of the Scorpid. He only had to show them.
And stay down.
Scorpid was drawn to the mysterious letter he'd stashed away that promised riches and rewards. Having conquered the dead mines, he yearned for the mysteries of Pyrewood Village.
Greetings, Scorpid. I've been observing your handiwork for some time now. I must say, I'm impressed. You're clearly no mere street urchin. There's a job I'd like you to do for me. The retrieval of a certain treasure. I assure you the pay is lucrative. If you're interested, I've left a dead drop in the cabin beside Pyrewood Village. You'll find more information within.
Gleaning the location from a tattered travel guide in the Deeprun tram, Scorpid ventured north, boarding the subway. Mid-journey, his keen senses caught sight of something stirring. Swiftly rolling off the tram, he landed in an alcove, revealing a serene, aquarium-like area in stark contrast to the rest of the oil-stained tunnel. Peering through glass, Scorpid beheld Nessie, the legendary thresher. Its level remained a mystery. Mesmerized, Scorpid marveled at the awe-inspiring creature lurking in the depths. Interrupted by another approaching tram, Scorpid's instincts kicked in. With ninja-like precision, he unleashed parkour moves, leaping onto the moving tram. As he landed, a confused woman seemed puzzled as to where he had come from. She didn't remember him boarding the tram earlier. Ironforge City, a hub of dwarven craftsmanship, lay before him, but his curiosity led him to the Ironforge Museum. Entering, he immersed himself in ancient marvels. A colossal dragon skull caught his eye, dwarfing him, a perilous truth that he might be a delectable snack for such creatures if they were alive.
The remains of the gargantuan red dragon were found in the wetlands shortly after the Battle of Grim Bat Toll.
The museum revealed giant bug eggs, unsettling Scorpid at the thought of encountering such ginormous insects.
Found in the sweltering wastes of the Tanaris Desert, this peculiar egg remains a mystery to modern ecologists. Dating tests suggest the egg could be up to 1,000 years old. Though certain elements denote insectoid structure, its true origins cannot be discerned.
Scorpid's parrot, Greenwing, fixated on a giant talon. Greenwing seemed especially captivated by this display, so Scorpid left him alone to admire his much cooler ancestors.
This petrified talon was found off of the southern coast of Stranglethorn. Ecologists believe this talon to be that of an ancient sun rock.
A towering taxidermied chicken seemed twice as tall as Scorpid. That would make the large chicken 12 to 13 foot tall in Scorpid's eyes, although by that logic, perhaps it was at least a foot shorter.
The largest of the plain strider birds, the Geru, are few in number and rarely encountered.
The bones of a giant ram stirred memories of Scorpid's rejection at Amberstill Ranch.
This is a scale replica of Toothnash's skeleton. The legendary ram was a wonder of Cosmodan and the subject of many tales of dwarven folklore. To this day, ecologists have been unable to account for the ram's freakish size or physical stamina.
A colossal skeleton hanging from the ceiling fascinated Scorpid. Perhaps one day in his future, he'd explore the crater where this fossil was found himself.
This intact Pterodon skeleton was recovered from the remote Ungoro crater. Based on the skeletal structure, it is clear that this specific genus has not yet been encountered.
Mechanical elven astrology and an orcish catapult followed. Both didn't seem very interesting. Scorpid preferred to look at giant, ancient creatures. In Ironforge's darkest recesses, peculiar scenes unfolded. A gnome, clearly deranged and confused, collided repeatedly with a wall. Scorpid noticed this gnome shared the guild name of the befuddled Ardenhall from his Dead Mines adventures. The revelation struck Scorpid. Having smooth brains appeared to be a shared guild trait. Half a day's journey later, Scorpid ventured through the valley surrounding Loch Modan, leaving the snowy Dunmorrow Mountains behind. During the journey, Mountaineer Rockgar, a dwarven guard, captivated by Scorpid's imposing presence, begged for help to rid the area past the tunnel of greenskin orcs. Scorpid agreed to dispatch the intruders. Approaching the tunnel's end, he encountered a dwarven woman. Playfully comparing boomsticks, Scorpid reveled in being indubitably superior in length and girth. Scorpid effortlessly cleaved through the greenskin orcs. They didn't stand a chance against his blades. Scorpid ventured through damp marshlands, where the loch cascaded down a colossal dam into a sprawling floodplain leading to the open sea. Wary of swamp monsters, he stuck to the path, steering clear of murky waters. Traversing the Thandal span, a dwarven-engineered land bridge, Scorpid marveled at the craftsmanship spanning the chasm below. The colossal structure gave way to the formidable Azerothian highlands. An unexpected encounter lifted Scorpid's spirits, a busy human wizard in the middle of nowhere. Greeting her, Scorpid inquired about her business.
Hey, good. You?
But she dashed off before Scorpid could answer, leaving him mildly bewildered. At a cliff's edge, Scorpid surveyed a valley below. Refuge Point. Refuge Point had a questionable strategic location for an alliance base. Nevertheless, he took the opportunity to restock his supplies. As Scorpid ventured west towards Thoradin's Wall, the gateway to the Hillsbrad foothills, a sudden rustle in the tall grasses caught his attention. A ghostly wolf emerged, but transformed, revealing a hostile orcish shaman. The orcish shaman lunged, initiating a surprise attack. Agile as ever, Scorpid dodged the first strike, responding with a swift gouge to incapacitate his assailant. Scorpid, mistakenly choosing to stand his ground, unleashed his boomstick. The shaman's bulletproof armor rendered his efforts ineffective, and lacking flash powder for a vanishing escape, Scorpid was defenseless. Despite the cruel barbs proving slightly more effective, Scorpid found himself helpless against the shaman's elemental magic. Scorpid was beaten mercilessly, left battered and broken. Scorpid resumed his journey along the road, heightened vigilance now demanded in the wake of the orcish shaman's affiliation with the vile horde. Heading westward, parallel to the elusive Silverpine Forest, Scorpid faced the daunting Hillsbrad foothills, a treacherous stretch standing between him and his destination. As the road unfolded, a pair of weary horde members emerged, nursing injuries from a skirmish with a giant bear. Seizing the opportunity for revenge, Scorpid struck ruthlessly. The warlock was incapacitated, while the cruel barbs found their mark on the weakened hunter. The duo's menacing pet spider and demon posed a threat, but the skirmish was over before it had begun, and Scorpid, deeming himself victorious in a 1 versus 4 battle, strategically retreated. Continuing westward, Scorpid found a fallen Alliance hero, a balding human warrior or paladin in his mid-30s, a stark reminder of the perilous nature of these lands for individuals of the Alliance. Arriving at the Hillsbrad Fields, Scorpid found a peaceful farming community besieged by horde marauders. Fueled by newfound hatred for the horde, he resolved to avenge his fallen allies. As a rogue, Scorpid struck from the shadows, waiting for opportune moments to intervene, turning the tide into favorable 2 versus 1 confrontations. Lying in wait, he skillfully silenced and struck down the horde, utilizing nearby grateful farmers to help him beat down the invaders. Departing, Scorpid left behind a village liberated from horde oppression. Scorpid traveled into the horde-aligned, Forsaken-controlled Silverpine Forest. In Forsaken-free areas, wild werewolves roamed freely, hunting anything that caught their attention. Reaching Pirewood Village, a settlement where the shifty humans met him with creepy looks, Scorpid traded his wares for coin. Finally, at the cabin beside Pirewood Village, Scorpid found the quest's destination. Inside, the promised chest held a note unveiling his mission.
Hello, Scorpid. I desire a treasure known as the Horn of Zelthos, which is somewhere within Shadowfang Keep. Venturing inside the keep usually calls for backup. However, for this job, a low profile is of utmost importance. You must go alone. Return the horn here, and your payment will be sent soon after.
Shadowfang Keep, a cursed fortress haunted by specters, unliving creatures, and feral werewolves, loomed ahead. The daunting challenges ahead did little to deter Scorpid, who had come too far to turn back now. Navigating the treacherous entrance, Scorpid slipped past werewolves and wild hounds, relying on stealth to evade detection. Scorpid had to strategize, systematically clearing the courtyard one monster at a time. Observing the key to success in a prison cell, a man named Ashcrom, with a jingling chain of keys, Scorpid freed him in return for unlocking the giant bolted door. Escaping the angered werewolves, he returned to find Ashcrom gone, but the bolted door open. Infiltrating the courtyard, Scorpid discovered a demonic chest with 2 keyholes. The chest lay in a stable full of devoured horses and cattle, their flesh hanging from chains. Not the best place for a picnic. Scorpid navigated past ghostly specters, waiting for them to turn around, for if they looked right at him, he'd be dead meat, like those horses in the stables. He pickpocketed a key from a spooky woman and obtained the second from a frantic man, who kept turning around, making it very risky and annoying for Scorpid to approach without detection. Returning to the chest, he opened it to reveal a demonic-looking horn, a powerful artifact with the potential for summoning a demonic entity should he blow on the horn. Scorpid decided not to touch this thing with his bare hands. After returning the horn to the dead drop, Scorpid decided against lingering in the eerie surroundings. Planning to come back in a couple of days, he made his way back to the Hillsbrad foothills. Outside Hillsbrad Fields, Scorpid witnessed an elite horde-killing death squad of Alliance members who couldn't be in Hillsbrad foothills for any other reason than to slay members of the Horde.
Sweet cosplay.
Impressed by Scorpid's attire, the death squad leader invited Scorpid to join the team. They slew many orcs, tauren, trolls, and forsaken. It had felt good to be on the side with the numbers this time. As the Horde slayers disbanded in the nearby town of Southshore, their leader hinted at a manor in the northern hills, suggesting an opportunity for Scorpid to become an assassin. Venturing into the hills, he found a cave with a chest and 2 dead bodies besides it. Maybe Scorpid shouldn't get any closer? Anyway, upon opening the chest and touching a strange crystal within, he faced a perilous ambush. His quick reactions saved him barely, and although he had failed the intelligence test, since he did technically survive, he was allowed temporary passage to Ravenholt Manor. Inside the manor, Scorpid encountered a Grand Master Rogue, impressed with Scorpid for surviving the surprise first trial. Under Master Farad's guidance, Scorpid learned new combat tricks, becoming more skilled than ever before. To solidify his allegiance to Ravenholt, Scorpid was tasked with a daring mission, pickpocketing badges from their rivals, the Syndicate. The Syndicate valued quantity over quality, while the assassins of Ravenholt, while few in number, were extremely skilled. Infiltrating Durnhold Keep, one of the Syndicate's primary bases, Scorpid skillfully stole badges from the poorly trained Syndicate. He also took the opportunity to assassinate some members of the Horde as well. Returning to Ravenholt Manor with 30 badges, Scorpid underwent a tedious process of handing them in one by one, a quality check to ensure he wasn't giving them fakes, Scorpid assumed. Earning the respect and acceptance of Ravenholt, Scorpid had achieved a friendly reputation among them. Perhaps more opportunities here awaited him in the future. Scorpid ventured back to Silverpine Forest, opening the chest at the dead drop to reveal a potent rune, left as Scorpid's reward for retrieving the demonic horn. Activating the rune would imbue his poisons with dark magic, a valuable rune to hold for future conflicts. As his adventure concluded, Scorpid paid the Griffin Master in Southshore a hefty sum for a luxurious Griffin ride back to Stormwind City. Time for a well-earned rest. In the Scarlet Raven Tavern, Scorpid relished the taste of spiced bread and sweet nectar, a moment of comfort to be had in the town of Darkshire after having traveled here from Stormwind City during the night. Armed with a flickering torch, he strolled southward, stumbling upon a gathering of Nightwatch trainees standing in the rain. Seated at a roadside camp, Scorpid's relief evaporated as a forsaken fiend, a Horde outcast, ran by, drawing the attention of a guard. Scorpid pursued, unleashing his boomstick to hinder the forsaken menace. The guard, however, chose this moment to bail, leaving Scorpid to face a flock of shadowy minions conjured by the cunning Forsaken. In response, the mercenary unleashed a mechanical Grinch, a gift from Great Father Winter. Triumphantly, Scorpid and his robotic sidekick had prevailed. But the cost was great. The mechanical Grinch's warranty expired, having been switched on a third and final time. Beyond the spooky woods of Duskwood, Scorpid delved into the treacherous vastness of Stranglethorn, a jungle that sent shivers down the spine. Despite following the road, a giant tiger gave chase, but a dash of flash powder and quick thinking vanished Scorpid in a cloud of smoke, narrowly escaping the swift king of the jungle. Eventually, Scorpid reached Booty Bay, a large, goblin-run harbor town, teeming with pirates and outlaws. The neutral peace policy offered safety from horde threats, allowing Scorpid a moment of relief. While browsing leatherworking supplies, a chunky tauren physically assaulted him with a hammer. Scorpid merely laughed, anticipating the horde member's demise. Booty Bay bruisers mercilessly pummeling the tauren to death for breaking the peace, a spectacle that brought great pleasure to Scorpid. Having secured a room, Scorpid eyed the shipping schedule. He had traveled to the southernmost point of the Eastern Kingdoms for good reason. Business opportunities promising great fortune awaited, far across the Great Sea. Scorpid's ship docked at Booty Bay's bustling harbor, where unsettling horde fiends departed. Boarding the vessel, Scorpid nervously wedged his back against a fellow human for safety. Arriving in Ratchet, it became apparently clear. Stealth only works if you're a horde rogue. The town's puzzling lack of guards made Ratchet vulnerable to horde influence despite its supposed neutrality. Scorpid wasn't sure how his presence would be met here. Approaching Gazlowe, Ratchet's goblin leader, for guidance, Scorpid found out the goblin mayor received bribes from the horde leadership to keep his bruisers out of the center of the town. Why, you ask?
Ratchet is a melting pot for cultural diversity. We even employ orcish gentlemen. Unfortunately, we're not allowed too many guards. The horde believe it's discrimination to prevent them from attacking members of the Alliance. And you, my friend, happen to be a member of the Alliance? Oh, also, even though horde gentlemen or ladies are allowed to attack you at any time, we must stress that members of the Alliance are forbidden from initiating any form of physical altercation. Rules are rules, my friend.
Scorpid aimed to prove his worth, and maybe Gazlowe would offer him some special protection. Discovering bounty posters seeking the heads of various pirates and brigands, Scorpid noticed they were all human. He chose the path of the bounty hunter to establish himself in Ratchet. Scorpid was tasked with collecting a bottle of very expensive 99-year-old port, which had been stolen by a homeless goblin man who dwelled in some caverns to the west. The pay would be lucrative, 55 silver coins. Next, he was tasked by a goblin chef to retrieve giant spider eggs from a land far to the west. Apparently, spider egg omelets were a popular delicacy. Gross! Maybe for the horde. Seeking solace in a local bar, a giant tauren bullied him out of his chair, stole his chair, and consumed Scorpid's booze. A flexing display of horde dominance left Scorpid fuming, foreshadowing the challenges awaiting him in this dangerous town. Scorpid left the town, finding it safer out in the savannah. He confronted the amateur pirates, dismantling them limb by limb. Next, he hunted large purple raptors. He skillfully hunted and skinned them, imagining the crazy profits to be made from their hides in Ratchet. The barren savannah posed more challenges. A living garou, similar to one found in the Ironforge Museum. Giant zebras, which are like zebras, but with a deadly horn on their head for gouging predators. Exploring the barrens, Scorpid encountered giraffes and hyenas too. But by far his greatest find was the Great Kodo. Massive beasts resembling Giga-Chad elephant-rhino hybrids. Scorpid exploited their lack of intelligence. Kodos are the mounts of tauren, much like how humans ride horses. Reaching the Wailing Caverns, Scorpid navigated the lush cave system in search of Mad Maglish. Discovering Maglish's camp nearby, he cornered the evil goblin, who proved to be surprisingly strong. Crazy guy's strength is real. Returning to Ratchet with the bottle of port, Scorpid encountered a smaller tauren, who met swift vengeance for Scorpid's earlier humiliation, and another tauren faced the same fate. Scorpid felt better. Now the score was 2-1. Scorpid found a moment of relaxation with a family of gazelles, and he cooled down in the shade. Next, he found a goblin called Whistlecrank near an isolated oil refinery, taken prisoner by evil goblins, members of the Venture Company. Enticed by good pay, Scorpid agreed to help Whistlecrank escape with his sick ride, but the key to the ignition rested in the pockets of a Venture Company foreman atop the oil refinery. Complicating matters, a horde Forsaken shared the objective. Bound by Ratchet law, Scorpid couldn't eliminate the Forsaken unless in self-defense. Lurking in stealth, Scorpid seized an opportunity when the Forsaken inadvertently struck him, while attempting to tag the foreman before Scorpid could. This action established a case for self-defense, and Scorpid ruthlessly dispatched the Forsaken. Despite bringing the key back, unfortunately, Whizzlecrank's shredder malfunctioned.
I don't think this blinking red light is a good thing.
He exploded and died. Scorpid stumbled upon a small hut. Seeking respite, he found a haven of relaxation. Within the cozy dwelling, Scorpid indulged in a smoke from a bong, unwinding in the savannah heat. Back in Ratchet, Scorpid discussed lucrative opportunities with a goblin businessman. Suddenly, a Forsaken unleashed shadow magic and summoned minions to assault Scorpid. As he retreated towards the bruisers, they began shooting at Scorpid instead, Horde favoritism at its finest. In a bid for revenge, Scorpid confronted the Forsaken and slew him, but the Horde gang the Forsaken was a part of rolled up and retaliated with a vicious beating. Scorpid narrowly escaped an Orcish rogue's assassination attempt. Dangers escalated on the dock, where a troll warrior distracted the guards, allowing the Orcish rogue to strike Scorpid unimpeded. These criminals clearly took their job seriously. Multiple stealthy Horde rogues surrounded him, creating a tense atmosphere. Scorpid had hopped onto the boat as it arrived, luring an assassin to follow him as planned. Separated from his ally, Scorpid got the drop on his would-be assailant, taking him down with ease.
Did he just vanish a bleed? Bozo.
Returning to Ratchet, the other Orc rogue had met a peculiar fate. His body lay suspended in the air. Clearly the work of a powerful magician. The Orcish rogue had been rolled so badly, he'd flattened down to becoming two-dimensional. With Ratchet free from Horde dogs, Scorpid revisited the Wailing Caverns, skillfully slaying serpents for their valuable, perfect deviate scales. They would be useful in crafting something of great value. Deeper in the caverns, Scorpid faced a brainwashed night elf, wielding deadly lightning magic. Using stalagmites for cover, Scorpid engaged in a clever battle, strategically forcing the druid to begin recasting his spell over and over again. Scorpid took every opportunity to slide in a blast from his boomstick, while jumping for cover to avoid any trouble from those lightning blasts. Scorpid left the night elf defeated, and if that wasn't embarrassing enough, Scorpid stole his lovely purple Gucci leggings, leaving him with a lot of explaining to do when he is awoken by his fellow druids. Venturing westward into the Stone Talon Mountains, Scorpid approached the perilous Spider Canyon, where he sought the spider eggs for that goblin chef back in Ratchet. Amidst the webs, he amused himself by thwarting a Horde shaman's futile attempts to escape. He probably would have made it too, if it wasn't for that meddling Scorpid. Scorpid collected sticky deep moss spider eggs and stashed them, hoping they wouldn't hatch unexpectedly. Confronted by the giant Spider Queen guarding her eggs, Scorpid faced a challenging battle, but ultimately his will to survive prevailed. An ambush by an Orcish hunter added chaos, but Scorpid's evasive skills allowed an unscathed escape. After the attack, Scorpid found himself lost, unintentionally traveling in the wrong direction. The landscape shifted, becoming greener and more plant-like, proving he'd gone far off course from the intended path. Stumbling upon a Forsaken rogue, Scorpid swiftly assassinated the fiend and eliminated the threat with a precise shot before the fiend could pose a danger to other innocents. Entering a long tunnel adorned with magical elven lamps, Scorpid traveled down its winding passages and emerged into a lush green forest. Traveling further north, rain began to chill him to the bone. Eventually, he was fortunate to reach the elven town of Oberdeen. Grateful for the elves' hospitality, he indulged in a warm, candlelit bath. With a desire to return to Ratchet, Scorpid sought assistance from a friendly night elf guide who led him to the dock to wait for a vessel out of here. Scorpid and his guide boarded the vessel as it docked, seeking shelter from the rain in the cabin. Resting in the cabin, Scorpid fell asleep in a chair. Sailing through the open sea, he dreamed of past adventures and those yet to unfold, hopeful to awake in the town of Ratchet, where he'd deliver these vile spider eggs come the morrow. Scorpid awoke from a nightmare in the creaky cabin of the wobbly ship. Panic fluttered in his chest, but relief washed over as he realized he was alive. Bounding up from his chair, disoriented, he found his night elf guide in the galley, sleeping. Scorpid questioned their location. The elf, wide-eyed, slipped away in embarrassment. On the ship's deck, instead of a gritty port, Scorpid was met by an unfamiliar dock. Darnassus, the home of the Night Elves. Trees touched the sky, casting an otherworldly glow. The elf guide had vanished. Alone in the mystifying city, Scorpid stumbled upon the leather worker's haven. The deviate scales he'd collected from cobras were useful in the crafting of a mighty belt. With nimble fingers and newfound purpose, Scorpid shaped light hides into chunky leather pads, securing them to his shoulders. He looked much more imposing with these bulky shoulder pads. The transformation continued. Scorpid's skilled hands fashioned sturdy gauntlets, completing the ensemble. Scorpid noted the change from his usual all-black attire. Sure, he looked less cool now, but, as they say, form follows function. He resolved to lend a hand to the Night Elves of Teldrassil. The elves assigned Scorpid diverse tasks to aid their community. Collecting random things like forest mushrooms became a common mission. Scorpid had no idea why the elves wanted them so much. Scorpid waded through serene ponds, plucking delicate lilies for the elven ladies. One daring task involved venturing into a creepy cave to gather spider eggs. This time, however, luckily, they were not intended for consumption. Among the more mystical requests was the collection of sparkling water, the magical holy kind, from the shimmering moon wells all over the forest. The elves even tasked him with collecting giant demonic pine cones. The purpose? A prank on a satyr, a mischievous creature. Astonishingly, the satyr fell for the ruse, devouring the foul-smelling pine cones before transforming into an unsuspecting toad. Scorpid couldn't help but notice the Night Elves' pride in their physical prowess. Leaders of the elves, like Jimbros, flaunted their muscular physiques, asserting dominance by displaying their upper bodies for all to bear witness. Despite appearing very manly on the outside, Mr. Talonroot, the elven leader of a town called Dolinar, entrusted Scorpid with a strange mission, retrieving his emerald dream catcher stolen by mischievous furbolgs. He was having scary nightmares sleeping without it. Scorpid set about rescuing the dreamcatcher from the furbolgs, humanoid bear creatures who made their dwellings within giant logs. In the heart of Teldrassil, besides a serene lake, Scorpid stumbled upon an unusual sight that ignited his ire. A horde druid, in the form of a peculiar lion creature, casually disrupted the Night Elves' meticulously tended planters. Scorpid's eyes narrowed in fury. This horde fiend dared to infiltrate Alliance land? The audacity fueled a rage within Scorpid. Scorpid chased the intruder, fueled by a burning determination to rid the land of this unwelcome menace. The horde druid, agile and quick, leapt into a nearby lake, transforming into an aquatic sea lion-like creature for a swift escape. Scorpid brought out his trusty boomstick, surprisingly effective underwater, and fired forth the mightiest shot a boomstick has ever shot, slowing the druid down long enough to allow Scorpid to reach the land before the druid could escape firing range. Once they reached the shore, the horde druid, finally realizing he could have taken on Scorpid, unleashed a torrent of retaliatory strikes. Scorpid found himself in a fight for his life. However, the earlier damage inflicted on the druid during the pursuit had taken its toll, and the druid, injured and weakened, was defeated by the far less powerful Scorpid. No doubt embarrassing for the druid, considering the druid's mighty raiding gear. Denelin, the night elf in charge of the planters, barely acknowledged the triumph. Instead, he issued another task to Scorpid, the collection of giant sprouts, baby seedling swamp monsters infesting the area around the lake. Scorpid couldn't resist asking Denelin about the purpose of gathering the peculiar sprouts. The night elf's response was a dark look, hinting that the seedlings would meet an unfortunate end. Deep within the forest, Scorpid had an unexpected conversation with giant, glowing purple plants. To his bewilderment, these sentient flora not only spoke but offered silver coins for delivering their fruit to Denelin. Huh, weird. Scorpid collected a silvery spinneret, a sacred part of a giant silver spider driven mad by corruption, revered by night elves. Returning to Darnassus, a towering, exceedingly muscular figure directed Scorpid's attention to the coastal town of Orbadine.
Listen, small fry. Think you're Biggie Cheese running all over the forest playing collector boy for the residents? Think. Again. I got this job because I'm good at doing important things, unlike you. You want to really earn favor with the night elves? Finish up fast and get your sorry human ass to Darkshore.
Scorpid hurried to finish up his duties in Teldrassil. It was clear the Archdruid himself wanted his human face gone from the city.
Thank you so much for bringing this sacred spinneret to our holy temple. I will ask you to assist in gently placing the spinneret into the fountain below. Sathra was once revered among our... What are you doing, sir?
Scorpid chucked the spinneret off the ledge into the fountain below. He didn't have time for this. Returning to Teldrassil's heart, Scorpid presented the strange fruit to Denelin. As it rooted, tiny Timberling swamp monsters emerged, attacking with unruly vigor. Unfazed and more irritated than threatened, Scorpid kicked them into submission and left quickly. The vessel awaited, ready to carry him from Teldrassil's mystical allure to tasks more befitting of a seasoned mercenary. He would prove himself to the Archdruid or die trying. Scorpid the Rogue sailed to Darkshore on the same rickety vessel that had brought him to Teldrassil. He watched from above deck as the colossal tree vanished into the cloudy mist. The weathered vessel docked in Oberdeen. Scorpid was pleased to see it wasn't raining. On the pier, Scorpid spied a mischievous gnome running mindlessly across the pier. The gnome kept running, even leaping off into the sea. Scorpid gave chase and leapt in after him. Despite Scorpid's shouts, the gnome swam into the abyss, embracing the depths. Suddenly, the gnome began to swim towards the surface, a sudden change of heart. Scorpid was unable to reach the gnome in time, and he watched as the gnome drowned in the depths. A thrilling revelation awaited Scorpid, a wanted poster for the mischievous Murk-Eye. Wait, no, that's the other giant grey murloc on the other beach. It was Murkdeep, who wreaked havoc on Darkshore's beaches. None of the tasks seemed perilous for a rogue of Scorpid's seasoned expertise. What irked him was the vast expanse of Darkshore, promising only the monotony of running back and forth along the long road. Scouring the desolate beach, Scorpid encountered colossal beached sea creatures resembling Loch Ness monsters, now lifeless on the shore. Beneath the waves, Scorpid explored murloc-infested shipwrecks, where pirate treasures lay forgotten, waiting for daring hands. The value of these treasures would surely make Oberdeen's archaeologists pay well for these otherwise useless artifacts. Venturing into the forested woodlands, Scorpid witnessed the unfortunate demise of a human named Tiny Pump, pursued by sinister twilight cultists, likely agents of the old god Seathun, or, as some weirdos call it, Carthoon. In a sly and irreverent remark, Scorpid urged the dying man to get pumped, a witty nod to his name. Scorpid uncovered a hidden cave behind a cascading waterfall. Delighted by skeletal remains, specifically that of a gnome, he cheered. In the depths, vibrant blue and yellow mushrooms caught his eye. Scorpid collected them, envisioning profitable sales to the elves of Oberdeen. Returning to Oberdeen, Scorpid sought the dubious services of the Oberdeen drug dealer, Berithras. The exchange of the cave shrooms yielded 39 silvers and 10 recreational red-speckled mushrooms in return for his goods.
Many thanks, Scorpid. These shrooms are fine specimens.
Gwyneth Bly Lagonda received Scorpid with delight as he presented her multiple samples of sea creature bones.
It is a pleasure to see you again, Scorpid.
On the beach, a fisherman dwarf named Gubba Blump eyed Scorpid's fine crab meat greedily. A quick negotiation later, Scorpid found himself 30 silvers richer.
Wow, these fine crab chunks are what I need! Thanks, adventurer!
Scorpid stumbled upon a level 13 night elf druid in the forest. Kneeling before her, he beseeched her for a blessing, the Mark of the Wild.
I don't have it yet. My apologies.
To his bewilderment, she wasn't able to grant him the fabled blessing, typically learned at level 2. If she didn't have that spell, what else didn't she have? Red flag, right there. Traversing the shoreline, Scorpid's sharp eyes spotted a group of adventurers slaying murlocs at Murkdeep's camp. Sitting quietly in stealth, he swiftly dispatched the troublesome murloc before the group even saw either him or the murloc, before vanishing into the shadows. The benefits of being a rogue were truly great. It took several minutes before the lame-os realized what had happened. By then, Scorpid was long gone.
Who sits at Murkdeep, griefing in stealth? You're an absolute clown, brah!
Deeper in the woodlands, Scorpid hunted elusive night sabers for their prized pelts. A night elf druid, oblivious to Scorpid's prior claim, rudely encroached on his hunting grounds. Annoyed, Scorpid concocted a devious plan. Observing her tactics, Scorpid watched as she hibernated one of two large night sabers so that she could deal with them one at a time. Amused, he sneakily roused the slumbering beast with a little jab before vanishing into hiding. Chaos ensued as the druid was forced to face two night sabers, ultimately ending with the night elf druid's demise. That'll teach 'em! With Darkshore's troubles resolved, Scorpid encountered a weary night elf druid needing escort south into Ashenvale's forests.
Oh, I am so tired.
Despite the druid's frequent naps in dangerous terrain, Scorpid guided him safely through shadows to Maestra's Post, an Alliance outpost in Ashenvale Forest. As Scorpid prepared to conclude his mission and speak with the sentinel in charge, a horde Forsaken intervened, casting a shadow over the tranquil moment. It was time to go to war. In the dense, lush greenery of Ashenvale Forest, a haven long cherished by the Night Elves, a dire change had come. Horde forces, notorious for their brutal onslaughts, had stormed into these sacred woods. Ugly orcs, foul undead, grisly trolls, and worst of all, the furries, known by some as Tauren, equipped with nothing but their fierce desire for conquest, roamed the forest in search of innocents to butcher. Their presence was an ominous shadow over the peaceful adventures once held by the Alliance in these very woods. Among the defenders was Scorpid, an outlaw known for his resilience and bravery. With the Horde's fiends inching closer, danger was at every turn. Armed with his trusted boomstick, Scorpid took a daring stand to protect the elven homeland. Each shot echoed through the forest, a desperate attempt to halt the advance of the mighty Horde champions who shrugged off his attacks with menacing ease. The battle's intensity peaked as Scorpid faced Moogle the Sly, a master blade master whose reputation for ferocity was well known across both factions. Moogle, towering and formidable, could single-handedly challenge dozens of Alliance fighters. Scorpid knew the risks. Getting too close could mean a swift, brutal end from a devastating whirlwind attack, sure to behead him. In the shadowed underbrush of Ashenvale Forest, the Alliance forces, inspired by the recent defeat of Moogle the Sly, gathered their strength. Scorpid, amid the rustle of leaves and murmur of rallying troops, joined the front lines once more. Their next target was Tojara, a formidable blade master whose end was hopefully nigh. With determination and battle cries, the Alliance charged from the east over the hills, descending upon the unsuspecting Horde army engaged in battle with a smaller battalion of Alliance.
For the Alliance!
The initial triumph was sweet. United, the two smaller Alliance armies overwhelmed the Horde forces, pinning them in a vice with tactical superiority. But victory was fleeting. The ground shook as a larger Horde army, previously unseen, surged forward. Caught off guard and outnumbered, the Alliance troops had no choice but to scatter into the woods, a desperate bid for survival. Scorpid, lacking a saber mount, relied on his stealth and cunning to evade the relentless Horde pursuit, a heart-pounding escape through the dense forest. Scorpid's retreat led him to Astronar, the heart of Night Elf resilience in Ashenvale. There, the remnants of the Alliance recovered, before regrouping, swelling their ranks until they outnumbered their previous force threefold. With renewed vigor, they charged towards Tojara's stronghold, this time flanked by a formidable ally, the forest lord known as Larodar, whose tree minions helped to put the pain on Tojara's forces, while his own forest blessings empowered the Alliance. In a fierce confrontation that echoed through the woods, Tojara fell. The defeat a critical blow to the Horde's command structure. As the main body of the Alliance pressed forward, Scorpid and a select group veered off on a crucial mission to eliminate Jubei, the last of the Horde's blade masters. From a safe distance, Scorpid aimed his boomstick with precision, each shot whittling down Jubei's formidable stamina. The forest held its breath as the final confrontation loomed, a decisive battle that could shift the balance of power in Ashenvale once and for all. With the fall of the Blade Masters, the Alliance army's momentum was unstoppable. They now faced the ultimate challenge, defeating Khazragor, a formidable orcish shaman known for his devastating lightning spells. Scorpid, ever cautious, maneuvered through the battlefield with precision, maintaining a safe distance from his allies to avoid the lethal chain lightning strikes that Khazragor unleashed upon clusters of soldiers. The air crackled with energy as the Alliance closed in on their formidable adversary. Once Khazragor was defeated, the remnants of the Horde army scattered, desperate to survive. Scorpid, alongside his fellow allies, pursued the fleeing enemies with relentless determination. The forest echoed with the clash of battle as they hunted down the Horde survivors, determined to prevent any future threats from these remnants. It was like stamping on cockroaches. After the dust settled, Scorpid made his way to Silverwind Refuge, a sanctuary of peace nestled in a secret location known only to the Alliance, because Horde who come across the refuge don't walk out alive. There, in recognition of his bravery and contributions, he was granted the honor to acquire esteemed gear. Powerful sentinel daggers, and a new purple mask symbolizing his allegiance to the Night Elves, and the reins to a sentinel's night saber, a majestic beast that would allow him to traverse the vast forest more swiftly. With new equipment and a renewed sense of purpose, Scorpid set his sights on the Blackfathom Deeps. His next adventure was clear: to confront the mighty sea creatures residing there, and to craft unparalleled gloves from their hides, fulfilling his destiny as a master leatherworker. Back in the safety of an inn, Scorpid settled in for a well-deserved rest, savoring the taste of golden bark apples. His solitude was briefly interrupted by a human paladin, whose abrupt presence was a jarring contrast to the tranquility of the evening.
Oh, hey. Just enjoying some...
Hi.
golden bark apples. Delicious.
That does sound delicious.
Uh-huh. Can I help you?
Well? Do you have an apple I could have? I'm starving.
Sure, buddy. Very high quality. I'm gonna go sleep now, friend. Good night.
Thank you. Take care.
Scorpid stirred awake in a night elven bed nestled within a hollowed-out tree. Today wasn't just any day. It was the day he would venture into the Blackfathom Deeps. His goal? To skin the Great Serrakis, a sea beast with a hide so magical it could be crafted into epic-quality gloves. Before setting out, Scorpid stopped by the auction house. To join a raid, especially as untested rabble, coming prepared was crucial. He stocked up on elixirs of ogre's strength for a physical boost, and healing potions for the inevitable battles ahead. He didn't forget the free action potions to ward off incapacitating spells, and shadow protection potions to guard against dark magic. Lastly, he grabbed some raptor egg omelets, a perfect snack to boost his spirit and stamina during the raid. With his supplies in tow, Scorpid felt ready. His adventure into the deeps was about to begin. This was his moment to prove himself. Riding his sentinel's nightsaber, Scorpid made his way through Ashenvale Forest, bound for the treacherous Blackfathom Deeps. His path led him through the ancient, ruin-strewn beach, known to be the domain of the Naga, vile humanoid sea snakes. As he approached the beach, Scorpid spotted an imposing figure, a night elf rogue known for his lethal skills. The rogue, spotting Scorpid, paused and gave a respectful bow, an unexpected honor that left Scorpid feeling cooler than ever. With a quick salute, he watched the rogue disappear, awestruck and more ready than ever for the challenges ahead. While sneaking toward Blackfathom Deeps, Scorpid witnessed a brutal confrontation. Two Horde wretches, an orc and a Forsaken, were attacking the noble night elf rogue he had met earlier. Scorpid hesitated, unwilling to bring dishonor to himself before the mighty Shobek by joining the fray. Unfortunately, the fight took a dark turn as the elven rogue fell, and the Forsaken disrespectfully desecrated the hero's corpse. Scorpid couldn't hold back any longer. He darted out and swiftly dealt a lethal finishing blow to the Forsaken, then disappeared into the shadows. Scorpid reached the sunken entrance to Black Fathom Deeps, an ancient submerged ruin. Inside, he stealthily navigated past Naga and Satyr, using pebbles to distract these lethal foes. He even had to dive underwater to avoid detection by wandering horde enemies. Upon reaching the raiding party inside, Scorpid was initially pleased to find the group mostly comprised of women, and then just gnomes who would provide no competition. However, his satisfaction quickly faded when a tall, dark, handsome, and purple warlock tank arrived, stealing the spotlight with his superior gear and imposing presence. Scorpid and the raiding party clashed with murlocs and monstrous lobsters in the murky waters of Black Fathom Deeps. As they fought, giant water elementals emerged, followed by dangerous whirlpools that threatened to drown Scorpid in the abyss. The raid faced a massive water elemental, a culmination of all the others. Scorpid used his agility to stay behind the colossal foe, avoiding deadly jets of water that could blast him off the ancient stone ruins into the deeps. As Scorpid and his team advanced, they were swarmed by large frenzied turtles. After a fierce battle, the raiding party emerged victorious, only to find old Sirakis, the sea monster Scorpid sought, already dead, its body bearing huge bite marks. Relieved yet curious, Scorpid harvested the hide from Sirakis, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Suddenly, a massive turtle, enormous as a small building, emerged from the depths, revealing itself as the true killer of Sirakis. The raiding party fought desperately, with Scorpid targeting its vulnerable spots, but defeating this colossal creature proved a monumental challenge. Scorpid and his raiding party faced the Naga Forces leader, a powerful siren sorceress in the depths of Black Fathom. Her magic froze the ground, turning anyone who lingered into ice. Scorpid had to swiftly maneuver to avoid the icy trap. Next, they encountered the Murloc leader, imbued with dark shadow magic. Scorpid distributed shadow protection potions he had earlier purchased, consuming one himself to withstand the intense shadow magic. After defeating the shadowy Murloc, his raid faced the leader of the cultists. This formidable foe wielded a massive mallet and summoned deadly totems. These totems launched fiery boulders that targeted Scorpid and his allies. Moving quickly and strategically, they destroyed the totems to prevent the fiery onslaught, navigating through this dangerous encounter with great caution. The raiding team faced their greatest challenge yet, an orc wielding potent shadow magic, a high-ranking Twilight cult devotee. As they formulated a plan, the Twilight Lord thrust Scorpid and his teammates into a nightmarish realm filled with sinister, nightmarish tentacles. After battling through the nightmare, Scorpid returned to reality, using his adept combat skills to disrupt the orc's spells with a swift upper kick to the chin. As the battle raged, Scorpid drank a free action potion, keeping him awake while others succumbed to the nightmare once more. The few who were still awake pressed on to finally defeat the Twilight Lord as Scorpid's allies fought their own battles in dreams. In the darkest depths of Black Fathom, Scorpid and his raiding team faced a monstrous Hydra, dodging its toxic breath and swinging tail. The battle intensified as the Hydra's breath mingled with the water, spawning toxic water elementals. Suddenly, the Hydra absorbed all the shadow magic from Black Fathom, transforming its breath into deadly shadow blasts, causing the terrible beast to swell in size. The shadow-infused Hydra became a formidable foe, summoning shadow elementals and decimating the raiding team. As his comrades fell, Scorpid became the last one standing. Through swift maneuvers and sheer determination, he ultimately subdued the mighty Hydra in its dying moments. His team revived, and together they celebrated their hard-won victory, finally ridding Black Fathom Deeps of the old god's dark influence. After their victory, Scorpid departed from his allies, venturing back through the now peaceful tunnels of Black Fathom Deeps. Amid the silence, he felt a serene calm as he dived into the deep waters below, searching for the last component needed for his epic gloves. At the bottom, Scorpid discovered a shadowy box within a skull-marked chest, the final remnant of corruption. With the box in tow, Scorpid knew it needed purification. He journeyed through the rainy evening. His destination was the Hillsbrad foothills, rumored to house a legendary white crystal of immense holy power. Many believed it a myth, but Scorpid knew it to be true. Standing before the holy crystal, Scorpid washed the box in the purified waters, releasing a shadowy figure trapped within. Grateful, the figure imparted the knowledge Scorpid sought, allowing him to craft the epic purple gloves he had longed for since the beginning. As he equipped his new gear, perfectly matching his boots, the shadowy figure vanished. Satisfied, Scorpid sat atop the mountains, watching the sunset over the hills, his quest complete. Though this adventure ended, he knew more awaited in Phase 2. As Scorpid dragged himself out of the inn, the fresh, salty air of the harbor mixed with the earthy scent of the marshlands. The wetlands, a vast expanse of swampy, rain-soaked terrain, awaited him. Fed by the melting snow from the mountains and frequent rains, this land was a muddy place of water and earth, creating a haven for all sorts of creatures. Scorpid's first task was a dangerous yet necessary one, thinning the numbers of murlocs, amphibious, aggressive fishmen, posing a threat to the travelers and residents of Menethil Harbor. After a few hours of intense murloc hunting, Scorpid took a well-deserved break beside the very road he had been protecting. Unwrapping his spiced baguette, he couldn't help but grimace at the moisture that had seeped into his meal. Nothing stays dry in the wetlands, he thought, taking a swig of sweet nectar, its origin as mysterious as its delicious taste. In the heart of the wetlands, he encountered wild raptors of vibrant hues, purple, blue, green, each more striking than the last. These formidable creatures had surged in numbers, partly due to the influx of fresh meat in the form of foolhardy adventurers drawn here by the recent release of Phase 2. Scorpid's keen eyes spotted something unusual, a group of dwarves from an archaeological expedition, trapped in a cave on the mountain's side. The dwarves, filled with a burning desire for vengeance, revealed their tragic tale. Their excavation of these lands had disturbed the raptors, leading to a deadly bloodbath. Determined to aid the dwarves, Scorpid embarked on a new mission. Utilizing his exceptional ninja parkour skills, he ventured into the raptors' domain, hunting for rare relics and battling the fierce beasts. Every fallen raptor offered Scorpid a bounty of valuable medium leather. Scorpid also gathered raptor eggs, envisioning them as ingredients for exotic omelets, much like the goblin's deep moss spider egg omelets. Scorpid's adventure took an even more thrilling turn when he found himself amongst a group of adventurers, a dwarf, a night elf, and a human, all united in their wait for the notorious leader of the raptors, Sawtooth. The moment Sawtooth emerged, the group pounced, engaging in a fierce battle that ended with the extraction of Sawtooth's teeth, a grim trophy required by each adventurer. By the end, the mighty raptor's once fearsome jaws were left mangled and toothless. With his tasks complete, Scorpid returned to Menethil Harbor, relics in hand. He was greeted by a dwarf archaeologist who, upon receiving the relics, began fiddling with them, unexpectedly summoning a hologram of an ancient being who began talking really slowly. The sight was as astonishing as it was awkward, prompting Scorpid to discreetly exit the scene. Scorpid's final tasks in the wetlands led him into the surrounding hills, home to the Dragonmoor orcs. These encounters reminded him of his past as the Knight, a time when he donned the Defias outfit. Now, only the tunic remained from that era, a symbol of his ever-evolving journey and changing attire. Scorpid engaged in battles with large crocolisks, skillfully harvesting their scaled hides. These fearsome crocs were particularly dangerous for roaming level 8 night elves. A surprising encounter with a large, friendly swamp monster offered Scorpid a unique perspective. Distressed by the Moss-Hide Knoll's destructive actions in the wetlands, the swamp monster sought Scorpid's aid in restoring balance. Scorpid battled the wretched hyena men, snatching up their flint so they would cease to continue burning the marshlands. Scorpid battled against the oozes, sludge-like creatures haunted by restless spirits. Luck appeared to be on his side, however, as he quickly located a fancy bag belonging to an old dwarven woman called Cedar. As a rainstorm set in, he waded through murky pools, facing swamp monsters corrupted by dark magical diseases, and skillfully put them down. As Scorpid's time in the wetlands drew to a close, he looked forward to drying out his clothes and embarking on new adventures. With the war in Ashenvale Forest over, he saw an opportunity to return and seize new opportunities to earn coin and favor. Scorpid awoke in the tranquil town of Astranar. The air was filled with a newfound peace, the echoes of battle fading into memory. The Horde, Those agents of chaos and destruction had been vanquished, and the forest breathed a sigh of relief. It was time for Scorpid to lend his strength to the recovery of this sacred land, to aid the good elves of Ashenvale in the aftermath of their hard-won victory. The first to seek Scorpid's aid was a distraught father in Astronar. His daughter lay ill, fevered, a malady he blamed on the lingering stench of the Horde's presence. The remedy? A moonstone, held by the Shade Thicket. With the Horde's departure, the demonic satyr had emerged as a new threat. The paladin tasked Scorpid with a sacred mission to free the trapped souls of elven wisps held captive in sinister soul gems by the satyr. As Scorpid delved into the satyr's shadowy camps, he smashed the soul gems and freed the tormented elven wisps from captivity. Scorpid stumbled upon a hidden glade where the air was thick with the scent of purple flowers. Here he met a sentinel, an elven guardian, who sought his aid in uncovering the mystery of the Worgen. These ferocious beings had taken refuge in the northern hills, their origins shrouded in secrecy. Driven by a sense of duty, Scorpid agreed to help, his journey taking him deeper into the heart of the forest. In the deeper recesses of Ashenvale, Scorpid encountered an elven man named Caneth, who was troubled by a dark conspiracy. The Forsaken, remnants of the Horde, were concocting a vile disease to infect the pristine forest. Scorpid accepted the mission to retrieve a sample of this disease on Caneth's behalf. As Scorpid journeyed through Ashenvale, his path was marked by various encounters. He found himself speaking to a fallen dryad, a guardian of the forest, who beseeched him to retrieve her magical stick from the clutches of a formidable satyr named Geltharis. In an unexpected twist, Scorpid crossed paths with a night elven woman named Winra, also seeking the magic stick.
Hail, mighty druid. Mayhap I join your quest.
I'm a priest.
Oh, never mind, that'll work.
As he was about to leave, a troll warrior, a remnant of the Horde, appeared. In a twist of fate, a human rogue emerged from the shadows, aiding Scorpid in defeating the troll. A silent nod of respect between the two heroes spoke volumes. The forest must be safeguarded from the Horde's stench at all costs. That same foolish troll came back for more, but the fiend was no match for Scorpid's disarming techniques, and without a weapon to fight back with, the troll warrior fell once again. Scorpid quickly located the Forsaken camp and snatched up a fresh bottle of that disease. He returned to Caneth, who foolishly insisted on ingesting the bottle of disease to test how bad it really is. No, not joking.
Oh, the disease is potent and it attacks the mind.
Returning to Astronar, Scorpid handed the moonstone to the anxious father, hoping it would cure his daughter. In the town, he overheard a suspicious conversation about getting high.
Did someone say weed?
Peace Bloom, brother.
Silverleaf.
I meant bruiseweed.
Guards!
Ah!
Next, Scorpid returned that magical dryad stick to a grateful dryad. She requested retribution against the satyrs, and Scorpid obliged, collecting their horns as proof of his deed. Another task led him to uncover the origin of the Worgen, which was linked to a mysterious magical book surrounded by vile, terrifying furries. Apparently some elven woman had oopsie-daisied and summoned forth wolfmen into the otherwise peaceful forests of Ashenvale. With more questions than answers, Scorpid set out for Darnassus. There he was tasked with investigating the belongings of an elven woman, Valinde, in search of clues about the origin of the Worgen's appearance in Ashenvale. He happily broke into her house to find any clues to her whereabouts. Following a lead led him to the goblin port town of Ratchet. Upon arrival, Scorpid embarked on a sea voyage, where he was clinging covertly to the back of a vessel to avoid detection by the vile Horde. His journey was tense, marked by the sight of a night elf druid, mind-controlled and forced off the boat. Arriving in Booty Bay, Scorpid finally met Rusgot, a goblin snitch who revealed Valinde's destination, Darkshire, a spooky town in the dusky land of Duskwood. Scorpid, familiar with the dangers of Duskwood, knew that Valinde would likely be found in the relative safety of the town. Scorpid knew that his quest would lead him to the town clerk, Daltrey, a man known to have a ledger of all who passed through Darkshire. Before setting out, Madame Eva shared a harrowing vision she had during the night. In her nightmare, she saw her young daughter Alyssa in grave danger, stalked by an old predatory creep named Stalvan. Despite his skepticism about her possible delusions, Scorpid agreed to Eva's urgent request to inquire about Stalvan while visiting the town clerk. Scorpid made his way through the sleepy streets of Darkshire. His first stop was at the house of Elaine Caravan. She greeted him with both gratitude and urgency. She entrusted Scorpid with supplies meant for Sven, a man living in isolation on the western fringes of Duskwood. Elaine also spoke of an old man residing in a small, forsaken shack near the ominous Ravenhill Cemetery. The man, known simply as the Hermit, was a reclusive figure rarely seen by the townsfolk. She implored Scorpid to check on his well-being during his journey. Upon reaching the town hall, Scorpid met Clerk Daltrey. He inquired about Valinda Starsong, but Daltrey, with a dismissive scoff, assured him he would have noticed a night elf's presence in a town like Darkshire. However, the mention of wolfmen by Daltrey piqued Scorpid's interest, hinting at a connection to the Worgen in Ashenvale. Delving deeper, Daltrey unearthed records of a Stolven mistmantle, once a resident of Moonbrook in the sun-drenched lands of Westfall. Daltrey's revelation about Stolven's past as a schoolteacher in Moonbrook sent a chill down Scorpid's spine. Scorpid journeyed westward, the path veiled by the dense canopy of Duskwood's dark oak trees. His first encounter was with Abercrombie, the hermit living in isolation near the Ravenhill Cemetery. His request was unusual: a spool of thread woven from ghostly hair to keep the haunted spirits of the cemetery at bay. Scorpid remembered Madame Eva's collection of strange artifacts and considered fulfilling this odd request. Further along the path, Scorpid arrived at Sven's camp. Sven Jorgen, a man marked by sorrow, welcomed him with a weary smile. He shared a heart-wrenching tale of loss and despair.
I used to work one of the farms to the southeast, until dark riders from Deadwind Pass descended upon my farm and slaughtered my family when I was away. When I returned, I saw a shadowy figure skulking near my barn, burying something. He fled before I could catch him, and I couldn't linger for I was hot on the heels of the dark riders, so I never discovered what was hidden. If you can find what that shadowy figure buried, I would be grateful. The hiding spot is behind the old stump near my barn.
At the farmstead, Scorpid faced off against shadowy figures cloaked in black, the Defias Dark Guards. A skilled fighter, he dispatched them with ease, uncovering a dirt-stained book buried beside the barn. The book was a journal and told a terrible tale.
The terror of these past few weeks is almost more than I can bear. Yet, I feel that by writing down that which I've seen, I will somehow be comforted. So I do it, and it is the only comfort I have these bleak days. It began with the finding of that cursed scythe in Roland's Doom. Before the scythe, the terrors of this place seemed as tame as Northshire Valley. But ever since I found the haft of the scythe jutting from that pile of rubble in the mine and, curse me, pulled it free, Roland's Doom became a place of vile death. After the scythe was freed, they came at us from everywhere, clawing from hidden holes at our feet and dropping upon us from silent perches above. Half our men fell in those first panicked minutes. The rest, including myself, tried to flee. As I ran, I saw so many of my brothers taken by tooth and claw, heard so many screams cut short or gurgled to silence. I can only guess why I survived that night. I have always been cautious, always quick to flinch from jabs and leap free of pitfalls. My nickname comes from this trait. So perhaps it was just that knack for caution that saved me. Or maybe it was the scythe I pulled from the rubble. It cannot be the scythe itself, for I lost it during my frantic flight. But if it was I who brought the Worgen to Duskwood, then perhaps the Worgen afforded me a rare courtesy. Curse them. After surviving the flight from Roland's Doom, I hid within a barn owned by a man named Sven. I spent a few days in the barn, and such horror lingered with me that I never once made myself known to Sven or his family. But from what I saw from my hiding place, I knew these farmers were quite decent folk. Had I stepped from my concealment, I think they would have taken me in, but trust is hard for me. Harder still after that shock in the mine, so I remained hidden.
Detective Scorpid was shocked. The mystery of the Dark Riders who had slain Sven's family tied in directly with Scorpid's own mission to hunt down the mysterious Valinda Starsong. If Worgen inhabited Duskwood, then it was clear the scythe had been used here too.
I must know who was that skulker in the shadows I saw the night my family was killed. Please, Scorpid, you have shown your resourcefulness. Please find that shadowy figure. I must learn what secrets he holds. I do not have clues that you do not already know, but here, take the book you found at my farm. Perhaps some of the townsfolk can link this book with its owner.
If Detective Scorpid could locate the author of the journal, he'd be able to solve 2 cases in one. But all of this would have to wait. The hunt for the predator. Stalvan must continue. Scorpid's journey took him to the desolate town of Moonbrook, now a shadow of its former self, overrun by the remnants of the Defias Brotherhood. In search of Stalvan, Scorpid explored the dilapidated schoolhouse. Haunted whispers of laughter from days long past echoed. Westfall had fallen on harsh times after the destruction of the Kingdom of Stormwind so long ago. In a locker coated with dust, Scorpid found an unsent letter addressed to a headmaster Krillian. This piece of correspondence was a vital clue, one that Scorpid knew he had to bring back to Clerk Daltrey in Darkshire for further insights.
To the Honourable Headmaster Krillian, my former master, I write to you so that you might know what your apprentice has been doing of late. My journeys took me to many places, but I have decided to take up residence here in the lovely town of Moonbrook. The surrounding fields of Westfall are most beautiful as the harvest approaches. Within just a few days of my visit, I found myself tutoring the local children from the nearby farmlands. The lessons went so well that the town mayor commissioned me to run a school, and construction has begun on a brand new schoolhouse. Warm regards, Stalvan Mistmantle.
Back in the eerily quiet streets of Darkshire, Scorpid felt the weight of the mysteries he carried. His first stop was Madame Ava with the journal from Sven and the letter from Moonbrook. Ava's insights were limited, but she confirmed the author was not of Darkshire origin, suggesting the shadowy figure was an outsider. She also provided Scorpid with the ghostly thread Abercrombie had requested, a material used for binding evil spirits or animating lifeless objects. Clerk Daltrey, upon examining the letter, realized he had overlooked a crucial detail in his records. Stalvan Mistmantle had another address in Goldshire, indicating a possible next destination in Scorpid's search. Scorpid's visit to Tavern Keep Smits in the Scarlet Raven Tavern yielded more information. Smits remembered the nervous man with strikingly bright blonde hair, a rarity in Duskwood. He overheard the man's fearful mutterings about being hunted and plans to flee west towards Raven Hill. Heading west towards Raven Hill, he stopped by to deliver a spool of ghostly hair thread to the hermit Abercrombie. But he had another task for him: fetch some zombie juice from Tavern Keeper Smits in Darkshire, a drink rumored to warm the coldest of bones. Scorpid headed south, creeping into the dimly lit Raven Hill village under the cloak of darkness. Scorpid encountered Jitters, a jittery, bright, blonde-haired man standing alone by a well. From Jitters, Scorpid unraveled a harrowing tale of secrets and tragedy. Jitters, once a miner, had accidentally unleashed the Worgen ferocious wolfmen. This curse had led to the brutal demise of Sven's family by the Dark Riders, a grim revelation that intertwined Velinda's and Sven's fates. Armed with this knowledge and the other half of Jitter's journal, Scorpid returned to Sven, who, consumed by a thirst for vengeance, was plotting against a powerful necromancer allied with the Dark Riders. Promising to return with aid, Scorpid departed to follow leads. Detective Scorpid began his treacherous journey towards Roland's mine, only to encounter a spine-chilling twist. As he trekked through the dark woods, a thunderous thudding shook the ground. Before Scorpid could react, a giant undead creature, stitched together with ghost hair thread and fueled by zombie juice, rampaged past him. Named Stitches, this Frankenstein's monster of a creation was the sinister work of Abercrombie, the hermit who had tricked Scorpid into gathering the components for this abomination. Despite the terror, there was a fleeting moment of satisfaction for Scorpid when Stitches took down a member of the Horde. However, the threat was too great to ignore. Teaming up with brave allies from the Alliance, Scorpid helped take down the monstrosity before it could wreak havoc on Darkshire town. The rain poured cold and heavy as Scorpid finally reached the desolate Roland's mine. Inside, his search led him to a mound of dirt, beneath which he hoped to find the Scythe of Elune. Instead of the weapon, however, a spirit materialized. It was Valinda Starsong, now but a ghostly spectre. Her tale unfolded. She had summoned the Worgen in an honest attempt to battle demons, but she had lost control, leading to chaos in Ashenvale. Valinda had hidden the scythe deep in a cave in Duskwood, an entire ocean away, which the miner, Jitters, unwittingly uncovered, causing the Worgen to be summoned here too.
I have failed. I have failed in my duty, failed my people. The Worgen run rampant, and the scythe of my goddess is lost. This evil I have unleashed. In whose hand does the power my goddess granted to me now lie? By whose hand is it directed?
Realizing the Dark Riders likely possessed the scythe now, Scorpid knew the focus had to shift to thwarting their sinister plans. Returning to Sven, Scorpid relayed Valinda's fate and the dire situation with the scythe. As they plotted their next move against the Dark Riders' cohort, the Necromancer, Sven proposed seeking help from Bishop Farthing in Stormwind City. In Scorpid's bid to find a weapon to even his odds against the Dark Necromancer, Morbent Fell, his journey, takes him to the heart of Stormwind City, where the Grand Cathedral of Light stands, a beacon of the human spirit. Within the hallowed walls of the Cathedral of Light, Scorpid met Bishop Farthing, a figure revered and feared for his unwavering stance against darkness. The bishop spoke of a rare metal, Lightforge iron. This wasn't ordinary metal. Forged in holy fire, it bore the power to cut through the veil of shadow magic. The path then led Scorpid north, to the windswept docks of Menethil Harbor. Here, Glorin Steelbrow, a dwarf priest and ally of Bishop Farthing, awaited. Glorin, his beard carrying the tales of many meals long past, revealed the resting place of the Lightforge iron, a sunken vessel, now a treasure trove lost beneath the waves. But the quest was not without its trials. Murlocs had pilfered the precious metal. Scorpid, ever the strategist, embarked on a daunting hunt, reclaiming the stolen ingots from the clutches of these sea dwellers. Back in Stormwind City, Scorpid presented the reclaimed Lightforge iron to Grimond Elmore, a master blacksmith whose hammer told tales of legendary creations. The scarcity of the metal foiled plans for a sword. Instead, Grimond forged a one-handed holy relic, a symbol of light's enduring stand against the dark. This tool, though not what Scorpid initially envisioned, held a power that transcended its size. It was with this sacred relic that Scorpid prepared to face his nemesis, Morbent Fell. Upon returning to Duskwood, Scorpid met with Sven, whose eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and vengeance at the sight of the holy relic. They strategized under the cloak of night. Scorpid's mission was clear: to infiltrate the Necromancer's lair and use the light-forged relic to shatter the shadows that shielded Morbent Fell, and then put an end to the foul Necromancer, once and for all. As Scorpid approached the ominous house atop the hill, a thick, shadowy fog enveloped the area, a sinister barrier crafted by Morbent Fell. Inside, reanimated skeletal warriors stood guard, their hollow eyes scanning for intruders. Scorpid, blending with the shadows, ascended the creaking staircase, where he faced the towering figure of Morbent Fell, his aura pulsating with dark energy. The battle that ensued was a spectacle of strategy and strength. Scorpid, focusing on the skeletal minions, weaved through their ranks, his attacks precise and deadly. Using his mastery of stealth, he retreated when overwhelmed, only to strike again with renewed vigor. In these critical moments, Scorpid's agility shone. He dodged the lethal Touch of Death spell, using the environment to his advantage. The turning point came when Scorpid, seizing an opening, unleashed the Holy Relic's power. A brilliant blast of light engulfed Morbent Fell, sealing his fate and dispelling the darkness that had long plagued the land. With Duskwood breathing a sigh of relief, Scorpid's next adventure beckoned him to Goldshire, where the air was heavy with an eerie fog. At the Lion's Pride Inn, innkeeper Farley spoke of a man named Stalvan, a former guest who had left behind a forgotten letter upstairs.
Dear Sir Flintridge, word of your need for a tutor for your children has travelled to me here in Goldshire, where I take up temporary residence in the Lion's Pride Inn. Please accept my application to serve as tutor for your offspring. I shall travel to meet you in person when the winter rains subside and the roads are suitable for travel once again. Until then, Stalvan Mistmantle of Silverpine.
The letter led Scorpid to the Flintridge estate. Amidst auction-bound relics, Scorpid discovered a torn journal page hinting at a deep, unsettling obsession Stalvan harbored for Tilloa, the Flintridge's daughter.
Most strange and uncontrollable feeling. Never have I felt the way I did today. Tilloa was outside tending to the flower garden. After a few minutes, she came inside and placed a scarlet begonia in my open palm and smiled at me in such a way that my heart felt as though it was trembling within my chest.
Following the trail, Scorpid found the summer cottage desolate, save for a chest containing another piece of Stalvan's dark tale.
Downward spiral of despair. First, she mocks me, and now she is engaged. The ungracious charlatan was pretending to love when truly she desired to hurt me all along. A black void lurks within me now, and it grows with each waking moment. The blood I shall spill pales in comparison to the tears I have shed.
The journal entries painted a portrait of a creepy old Kuma consumed by lust and jealousy for his student, which led him into spiraling into madness and murder. However, they also hinted at Stalvan's last location. The final confrontation awaited at a decrepit cottage near Darkshire, where Stalvan lurked. Their clash was fierce, with Stalvan's curses clashing against the holy relic's light. Scorpid's skill and the relic's power ultimately prevailed, ending Stalvan's reign of terror. Returning the Mistmantle family ring to a grateful Madame Eva, Scorpid closed a chapter of darkness in Duskwood. As the story of Duskwood concluded, Detective Scorpid found respite in the Scarlet Raven Tavern, his deeds echoing in the grateful whispers of townsfolk. With the mysteries unraveled and peace restored, Scorpid's gaze turned to a note of riddles he'd found near a burned caravan after leaving Moonbrook earlier that day, hinting at new adventures to be explored. Ready for brighter days, Scorpid left the gloomy shadows of Duskwood, seeking sunnier horizons. He boarded a merchant vessel, feeling the fresh sea breeze as it sailed towards Ratchet, a bustling port town in the Barrens known for its supposedly neutral stance. But we all know they favor the vile horde. It was here that Scorpid hoped to unravel the mystery of a burned note he'd discovered in Westfall, on a rundown farmstead. This note, tattered and passed through numerous hands, held a hint that Detective Scorpid had immediately deduced, and certainly not through the aid of quest helper add-ons.
Not all that burns is lost. Find the Twin Land, find the place!
The Barrens stretched before Scorpid, a vast expanse of rugged terrain under the dominion of the Horde. Scorpid knew the risks. His journey required stealth and caution, avoiding the main roads where Horde patrols roamed. The wilderness became his ally, offering cover and solitude. However, the unforgiving landscape often forced him onto the main paths, where he relied on his wits and agility to remain unseen. As he ventured deeper into the heart of the Barrens, a disheartening sight stopped him in his tracks. Another burned caravan lay before him, eerily similar to the one in Westfall. Under a scorched tower, amidst the ashes, lay the remains of a dwarf, another victim of some unknown peril. Among the debris, Scorpid found a clue, a message attached to a charred wooden plank.
Mission said they were both making deliveries for New Plague. Looks like simple apothecary accidents to me. Find my cozy spot in the mountains between the Barrens and Desolus if you want a safe place to talk.
Scorpid's resolve hardened. He knew his path now led north, to the Stone Talon Mountains. A rugged landscape of peaks and valleys surrounded him. As Scorpid ascended the winding paths, he discovered an abandoned camp. The flickering flames of several campfires cast eerie shadows, and a note rested atop a crate, surrounded by hastily left supplies.
Not so bad, eh? Since you're reading this, it means my stash is still there. Take 100 paces due north and don't break your ankles going down the steep cliffside. There should be enough to keep you going.
The note's author, a dwarf explorer, seemed to be leading Scorpid on a mysterious chase. Scorpid weighed his options. Was this a trap, or merely the eccentricities of the dwarf he sought? Driven by curiosity and the lure of adventure, he followed the directions. His journey led him to a peculiar mound of loose soil. After some searching, he uncovered a messenger bag filled with random dried fruits and nuts, and another note.
Always like to keep a reserve stash nearby in the off chance I've got to flee in a hurry. The face of this mountainside is so beautiful you might say it was carved from the waterfalls of time. That's the eagle's nest, that's what you're looking for!
Despite the frustration of this endless chase, Scorpid couldn't back down now. The sunk cost fallacy had taken hold, and he was determined to see this through. Scorpid's journey to Loch Modan was filled with anticipation. But upon reaching the dam, he was met not with the dwarf, but a bustling group of horde dogs. A warlock and his minions seemed to be conducting some ritual. The note he sought was tantalizingly close, yet perilously guarded. With a swift, decisive move, Scorpid grabbed the note and disrupted the warlock's plans. But his actions did not go unnoticed. Surrounded by horde, Scorpid had to think fast. He sprinted with all his might, leaping off the dam in a daring escape. The pursuing orc, lacking Scorpid's momentum, met a grisly end against the dam's stone wall. Scorpid swam to safety, his heart pounding with adrenaline. The new note revealed the dwarf's final location, Thoradin's Wall, a colossal structure erected by humans centuries ago to keep trolls at bay.
From here, with the right tools, you call the shots. Great place to launch a parachute glider. My loyalty to the Eagle and Fist requires distance in order to serve them best. This barricade has had better days, like the old kingdoms it once defended, but I'll never abandon it.
As Scorpid approached the ruined wall, he spotted a makeshift path leading up, marked by an overturned wagon. Climbing the ancient stones, he finally found what he had been searching for, the dwarf's secret base.
So I've decided to take my work back underground, to stop it falling into the wrong hands.
However, Scorpid was not alone. A Forsaken and a towering Tauren shaman, deeply engrossed in each other, occupied the sleeping bag he had eyed as a reward for this long chase. In a bold move, Scorpid disrupted their fun, eliminating the Forsaken and narrowly escaping the shaman's wrath. With a mix of triumph and frustration, Scorpid snatched the dwarf's sleeping bag, a small consolation for his troubles. Scorpid made his way to South Shore, nestled in the Hillsbrad foothills. It was time to rest, to reflect on the wild chase and the elusive dwarf. As he settled into the inn, thoughts of tomorrow's adventures flickered in his mind. In the quaint, bustling town of South Shore, nestled within the verdant Hillsbrad foothills, stood a charming inn, a refuge for travelers and adventurers. It was here that Scorpid awoke to the soft hum of daily life outside. This crisp morning brought a sense of unease. Despite his many conquests and escapades, he found himself at a crossroads, uncertain of what destiny held for him next. As part of his daily routine, Scorpid made his way to the town's rustic mailbox. Sifting through the usual assortment of local news and mundane letters, one envelope caught his eye. The handwriting was unmistakable, fluid, precise, and eerily familiar. It was from C, a shadowy figure, whose paths had crossed with Scorpid's once before.
Hello again, Scorpid. I'm sure a rogue of your talents stays quite busy these days, so I'll get right to the point. I have another job for you. This one is a touch more involved than your foray into Shadowfang Keep, but your pay will be raised accordingly. If you are interested, return to the cabin, besides Pyrewood Village. You'll find your briefing in the same dead drop as before. Regards, C.
However, his journey was quickly interrupted by a distressing scene. Members of the Horde were attacking innocent farmers. Without hesitation, Scorpid sprang into action. His movements were a blur of shadows and steel as he swiftly dispatched a Forsaken mage, saving the farmers. The next encounter was at the local blacksmith, where Scorpid heroically rescued the blacksmith and his apprentices from a brutish Forsaken warrior. With the threats neutralized, he continued his journey.
Glad to have you back, Scorpid. The latest object of my desire is an artifact known as the Eye of Bosca. My sources tell me the eye is somewhere within the Scarlet Monastery. As with Shadowfang Keep, you must infiltrate the monastery alone. It may behoove you to find a disguise before going in. It will make getting around a touch easier. I'm sure you could find something on the monastery's grounds. Return the eye here, and payment will be delivered as before. C.
The monastery, a fortress of the zealous Scarlet Crusade, loomed ominously before him. In the dense woods surrounding the monastery, Scorpid chanced upon an unexpected aid. A footlocker left carelessly by a Scarlet patrol. Inside lay a Scarlet Initiate's outfit, which he promptly donned. The disguise, uncomfortable but convincing, allowed him to blend in with the Crusaders. Once inside the monastery, Scorpid's ruse was effective. He moved through the stone corridors with feigned confidence, saluting the guards and eliciting shy smiles from the Scarlet acolytes, thanks to his handsome appearance and charming demeanor. Despite the gravity of his mission, Scorpid couldn't help but appreciate the monastery's grandeur, with its high ceilings, ornate tapestries, and meticulously crafted statues, steeped in both faith and fanaticism. His first objective was to acquire a key to the reliquary, a task he accomplished with the skill of a master thief. The key, lifted from a high-ranking official, unlocked a world of possibilities. As he explored further, Scorpid stumbled upon a secret document in the monastery's library. A letter addressed to Brother Essalon, revealing the existence of a hidden key within the graveyard. This key was essential for accessing the sacred reliquary where the Eye of Bosca was likely kept.
Brother Essalon, should you need access to the reliquary, I've hidden a key in the graveyard. It is inside a stone coffer beneath the floor of the northern mausoleum. There is a mechanism to raise the coffer. To activate it, you must sit on the two benches between the pairs of statues on either side of the graveyard. Please treat this information as highly privileged. Blessings, Brother Ceramus.
Here in the monastery's graveyard, the air was thick with the stench of decay, and undead horrors roamed freely. With precise movements and a keen eye, Scorpid meticulously followed the instructions from the letter. Each bench he sat on triggered a subtle mechanism, eventually revealing the hidden key within a stone coffer. With both keys now in his possession, Scorpid retraced his steps towards the library, his heart racing with the anticipation of the final act of his mission. The reliquary, guarded and revered, was within reach, and with it, the Eye of Bosca, an artifact shrouded in mystery and imbued with untold power. With the keys to the reliquary in hand, Scorpid navigated the silent corridors of the Scarlet Monastery. Finally reaching the reliquary, he used the keys with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The lock clicked open, Scorpid carefully secured it, aware of its immense value and power. With the mission accomplished, he made his way out of the monastery, his exit as seamless and unnoticed as his entry. Scorpid returned the Eye of Bosca to the dead drop in the house beside Pirewood Village, just as he had done on his previous mission once before. He knew the drill. Time to make himself scarce and return in the future to claim his reward. In the goblin-run town of Gadgetzan, Scorpid awoke on a straw and wooden bed, a thin white sheet separating him from the prickly straw beneath. The afternoon heat lingered heavily in the air, adding a drowsy weight to his movements. Despite the lateness of the hour, Scorpid shook off the lethargy and left the inn. The town, similar to Ratchet but larger and guarded by more goblin bruisers, had provided a night's refuge. However, as Scorpid stepped beyond its sandstone walls, the comforting sense of safety evaporated. Ahead of him stretched a vast, desolate wasteland. The salt flat plain before him was devoid of life. This was a land where only the hardiest could survive, and Scorpid was about to learn that the hard way. Venturing further, Scorpid's journey took him north, navigating up and down a ridge along a dusty road. The salt flat expanded around him, a seemingly endless expanse of white that merged with the horizon. It was here that he came upon a peculiar sight: the raceway. This was where goblins and gnomes, both master engineers in their own right, came to test their latest creations. Sleek racers zipped across the flat land, kicking up clouds of salt in their wake. Although Scorpid had little interest in the technical rivalry between goblins and gnomes, he recognized the opportunity for work. The raceway, teeming with engineering fanatics, was ripe with potential for side gigs that could be quite lucrative. As he explored the area, Scorpid was approached by a gnome named Fizzle Brassbolts. Fizzle, with an eager gleam in his eye, requested Scorpid to harvest venom from the local Scorpids. Funny name for such creatures. This venom, he explained, was a key ingredient for a new intensely hot, burning fuel. His brother, Whizzle Brassbolts, had a different task. He needed dense tortoise shells from the giant tortoises roaming the flats. These shells, known for their strength and durability, were to reinforce the fuel tanks holding the volatile Scorpid fuel. Caring, not for the gnome's plight, only for money, he discreetly made his way to Pozic, a goblin on the opposite side of the raceway. Pozic needed hollow vulture bones, a lightweight alternative instead of wood for the chassis of their racers. During his time at the raceway, Scorpid encountered a large, burly tauren named Gerin. Unlike most members of the Horde, Gerin seemed disinterested in conflict, focusing solely on profit. He offered Scorpid a deal: thin the numbers of basilisks roaming the flats to prevent them from straying onto the racetrack. In return, Gerin would share his payment. Scorpid agreed. With his tasks clearly laid out, Scorpid set about hunting the creatures of the shimmering flats. The vultures, with their hollow bones, claws at his face with their talons. Their nests were predominantly to the east, near the skeletal remains of a colossal beast. The ribs of the long-dead creature had once sheltered someone, evidenced by the broken supplies and torn canvas scattered around. To the north, the giant tortoises moved slowly around the remains of a half-buried shipwreck, a stark reminder of the salt plains past as an ocean. The tortoises were heavily armored, and each strike against their shells sent painful chips flying back at Scorpid. After several bruising encounters, he adapted his strategy, using shurikens to attack from a distance. This new approach spared him from the shell fragments and made the hunt significantly easier. In his search for basilisks, Scorpid also scavenged scrap metal from the wrecks of crashed racers, a treasure trove of materials for the engineers at the raceway. Eventually, Scorpid stumbled upon the ruins of a long-abandoned farm. The land, once fertile, had succumbed to the encroaching salt and lack of water. The only remnants of life were the salt-scale basilisks, drawn to the scant salty water that remained. It was here that Scorpid engaged in a careful culling of their numbers, mindful of their dangerous, petrifying abilities. Upon his return, the gnome engineers were delighted with the resources Scorpid had gathered. Fizzle, however, had one more task. He requested Scorpid to locate Martek the Exiled in the distant Badlands, a renowned smith who could provide insights into crafting high-stress pistons for their racers. Scorpid declined. He couldn't be bothered. Pozic, the goblin engineer, was equally grateful for the hollow vulture bones. However, he faced a dilemma: a missing blueprint for a fuel regulator, which was supposed to have been delivered by Gazlo, the mayor of Ratchet. Pozic asked Scorpid to inquire about the blueprint's whereabouts. Agreeing to help, Scorpid made his way back to Ratchet, determined not to return to the Shimmering Flats until he had fulfilled all the tasks set before him. In Ratchet, Gazlo informed Scorpid that the blueprint shipment from Booty Bay, a port city in the jungles of Stranglethorn, had not arrived. Scorpid committed to investigating this delay, though he had other business to attend to in Kalimdor first. His journey led him through the Stone Talon Mountains and into the arid expanse of Desolus. Arriving at night, he found an Alliance settlement where he could rest. The land, much like the Shimmering Flats, was harsh and unforgiving. Inside a grand elven structure, Scorpid found a comfortable bed, a stark contrast to the straw and wooden one he had left behind in Gadgetzan. As he settled in, his thoughts drifted to the adventures that awaited him the next day. In a night elven bunkhouse nestled within the mountains of Desolus, Scorpid awoke. The warm, clear weather and the gentle ocean breeze drifting through the mountains set a serene scene, but Scorpid knew this was just the calm before the storm. Nigel's Point, a small Alliance settlement, emerged as a green oasis in the desolate expanse. Surrounded by rugged mountains, it provided a uniquely cool climate, making it a pleasant anomaly in the otherwise arid region. Here, Scorpid prepared himself for a day of profit-seeking through an array of odd jobs. His first encounter was with a dwarf, who tasked him with collecting mystical reagents from creatures of the desert. Fellow humans presented him with a more daunting challenge: to confront and defeat the centaurs, ferocious horsemen who were a constant threat to the peace of Nigel's Point. They revealed a secret plan, a strategic move that could shift the power balance in Desolus. The centaur clans, perpetually at war with each other, were a thorn in the side of the Alliance. The captain's plan was for Scorpid to infiltrate and befriend one of these clans. Winning their favor could weaken their collective strength and bolster the Alliance's hold on the region. Yeah, cool idea. But Scorpid wasn't about to spend his days in the desert earning favor with a bunch of fleabags. This was when Valeriel, a night elf swordsman, approached Scorpid with a personal request. He sought assistance in locating some elven nobles, young heirs of a wealthy merchant family. Their father had tasked Valeriel with their safe return. As Scorpid left the relative safety of the mountain base, the reality of Desolus's harshness hit him. The land was a desolate expanse, with giant black vultures circling overhead, a stark reminder of the constant presence of death. His journey led him to the ruins of a caravan, a grim scene marked by the violence of a recent attack. Scattered supplies and mysterious footprints heading south beckoned Scorpid to investigate further. It wasn't long before he encountered two imposing tauren from the Horde. Scorpid, quick on his feet, ducked into hiding, but the druid among them used a spell to reveal his stealth, forcing Scorpid into a desperate escape. Barely managing to retain his boon of Blackfathom, Scorpid continued, following the mysterious footprints to a decrepit fortress overrun with members of a shadow cult. He witnessed a brutal conflict between members of the Horde and the shadow cult's warlocks. Scorpid's agility and stealth allowed him to navigate around this chaos, leading him to a startling discovery. Dalinda Malum, one of the missing elven nobles, was held captive. Sadly, her brother had seemingly joined the shadow cult, complicating the rescue. Scorpid and Dalinda escaped through the war-torn corridors, constantly vigilant for both the cultists and a lurking troll hunter. Fortune smiled upon them as they reached the entrance without encountering the Horde. During his reagent hunt, Scorpid had a chilling encounter with a forsaken sorcerer, staring him down from a distance. Sensing a potential trap, Scorpid chose to slip away into the desolate landscape unseen, rather than be baited into attacking. He couldn't shake the feeling that a Horde rogue was lying in wait, besides the Forsaken, to join the fray. Scorpid allied with a small Kodo caravan, helmed by two resourceful goblins. Tasked with escorting the caravan southward for trading, their motives seemed pointless, considering how desolate this land is. Their path was fraught with ambushes by centaur attackers and menacing demons. The ever-present threat of the Horde loomed too, so he had to remain vigilant. Scorpid's perseverance paid off. Upon safely reaching their destination, the goblin contact rewarded him handsomely. In addition to providing escort, he successfully tamed wild Kodos, using a magical stick to guide them to the Kodo caravan stables. However, the most intriguing development in Scorpid's journey came from unraveling the mystery behind brutal attacks on Alliance camps. Scorpid's investigation led him to Bibli, a contact he had previously helped.
I've found a couple of scenes like you described, Scorpid. Always camps of humans and dwarves. Rumor among the caravans is a group of Horde marauders did it. Seems likely given the victims, and how brutal the attacks were. Apparently the bandits fled Desolate once an Alliance marshal got hot on their trail. If you're looking to track one of them down, I'd check in a port town. Might catch one trying to get a boat to somewhere.
The prospect of following this new lead was the perfect excuse to depart the arid climate of Desolus, and he soon set forth to Booty Bay.
Ah, our boss wasn't with the Horde. She was a night elf named Ilari Duskfeather, and if you're looking for her, she once mentioned a hideout somewhere near Arathi.
Upon arriving in the rugged terrain of the Arathi Highlands, his instincts led him to a secluded shoreline, where a small rowboat awaited. Rowing eastward, he reached an abandoned dwarven farmstead. Scorpid's attention was drawn to a formidable night elven woman standing ominously on the dock. However, a ginger cat lounging on the dock momentarily distracted him, offering a brief respite from the tension. Confronting the night elf, Scorpid questioned her about the attacks, wondering if they were both chasing the same marauders. To his utter shock, she revealed a shocking truth.
Kalimdor belongs to the Night Elves. I refuse to see it defiled by the lesser races. Dwarves and humans are inferior to elven kind. If our leaders cannot protect us, then I will do what must be done.
What about gnomes, though?
It was implied I hate gnomes too.
That we can agree on, but unfortunately for you, I'm a human.
I know, idiot. Now I'm going to kill you, weakling.
Their conversation escalated into a fierce battle, showcasing their evenly matched skills. However, Scorpid's unique techniques and the potency of his poisons gave him an edge. In a twist of fate, the night elf vanished, using a trick all too familiar to Scorpid, leaving behind only a pouch containing a key. Inside a chest near the dock, Scorpid found a jewel-encrusted box housing the Rune of the Poisoned Blade. Activating this rune, he gained the ability to throw poison knives, a skill that promised to be a significant advantage in his future endeavors. As night fell over the Azerothian highlands, Scorpid found solace in one of the abandoned dwarven buildings. Lying in the comfort of the well-furnished dwarven hideout, Scorpid closed his eyes. In the heart of the Azerothian highlands, amidst the relentless cold rain pouring down from the northern hinterlands, Scorpid lay coiled within his sleeping bag. The damp, misty morning offered little motivation to leave the warmth. But then the rain began to ease, nudging Scorpid out of his sleeping bag. It wasn't long before he encountered Crichton in Refuge Point, a man robed in the garb of a scholar. Crichton entrusted Scorpid with a task, hunting the Witherbark trolls to the southeast. Further exploration of Refuge Point led Scorpid to the captain of the outpost. She directed him westward, towards Northfold Manor, a once noble estate now fallen under the control of the Syndicate, an organization of rogues and criminals. Scorpid had noted the similarities between these foes and the infamous Defiers of Westfall. The captain's request was straightforward: eliminate the Syndicate's presence, thereby securing safer passage for caravans between South Shore and the outpost here. Leaving the Syndicate in disarray, Scorpid turned his focus eastward. The Witherbark trolls were notorious for their cunning and brutality, but Scorpid approached them with a tactical mindset. His battles were fierce, pitting him against the trolls' medicine men and shadow hunters. It was during this relentless hunt that Scorpid encountered an obese Tauren hunter, an imposing figure accompanied by a fierce saber-toothed tiger. The Tauren, a member of the Horde, was an enemy by default, and Scorpid felt a surge of adrenaline at the prospect of sticking his daggers in the vile furry's ribcage. Stealth was his ally as he launched a surprise attack, stunning the Tauren. However, the saber-tooth proved to be a ferocious adversary, carrying the Tauren tremendously in this fight. But Scorpid was not one to falter. Employing his disarming technique and quick reflexes, he managed to turn the tide, sending the Tauren beast tumbling down a cliff. His encounters with the Witherbark trolls intensified, each skirmish more challenging than the last. He battled fiercely, claiming their medicinal supplies and even the tusks of a formidable shadow hunter. It was a grim task, but necessary for Crichton's research. His mission was interrupted by an unexpected rematch with the Tauren hunter. Driven by revenge, the Tauren charged at him atop a Kodo beast. However, fate wasn't kind to the Tauren. In a moment of sheer clumsiness, the Boomer Skills Tauren slipped on his hooves and plummeted down a cliff. Returning to Refuge Point, Scorpid encountered the Forsaken Death Squad. A swift and strategic assault allowed him to take down the courier they were protecting and seize crucial documents. With the Forsaken's guards hot on his heels, Scorpid cleverly led them into an ambush by the guards of Refuge Point, ensuring their defeat. Scorpid delivered the reagents to Crichton. The information within the letters revealed a sinister plot by a Forsaken apothecary in the farmstead. Teaming up with an elven druid, Scorpid infiltrated the farmstead, battling orc grunts and ultimately eliminating the apothecary, though not without some embarrassing moments occurring.
Watch my rear. I'll see what I can find in all this junk.
Sorry, I was distracted.
The ruins of Stromgard City were fraught with tension. The silent, eerie streets made him uneasy. However, the quiet was soon shattered by a vicious assault from a Tauren shaman. The shaman's elemental magic was overwhelming, and Scorpid found himself knocked out in mere seconds. Recovering from the ambush, Scorpid cautiously made his way deeper into the city. The Tauren shaman, responsible for his earlier defeat, was spotted again, this time engaged in a fierce battle against the remnants of the Arathi humans holding a portion of the city. Seizing the opportunity, Scorpid employed a cunning strategy. He threw dirt in the shaman's eyes, blinding him temporarily, buying time for Arathi knights on horseback to arrive, leading to a timely demise for the Tauren shaman. With the score settled, Scorpid joined forces with a group of Alliance members, a night elf hunter, a dwarf priest, and a gnome mage. Together, they launched an aggressive campaign against the elite syndicate forces occupying Stromgard's keep. Their coordinated attacks resulted in the beheading of Lord Falconcrest, whose head would surely provide a handsome reward as a bounty. As Scorpid made his way out of the keep, he encountered the Tauren shaman once more. This time, the shaman was preoccupied with fending off shadow minions summoned by the dwarf priest. Scorpid seized the moment, striking down the weakened shaman, and earning a nod of approval from the night elf hunter.
Justice!
With his allies departing, Scorpid took a wander before heading back to the outpost, when suddenly, a powerful Forsaken assassin launched a devastating attack. Each time, Scorpid would barely escape with his life, and the assassin would attempt another execution. Further attempts on his life were more harrowing than the last, testing his skill and resolve to their limits. The Forsaken rogue proved to be a formidable adversary. Stealth and guile, typically Scorpid's greatest strengths, were outmatched by the Forsaken assassin's higher level and better equipment. In a series of tense encounters, Scorpid narrowly escaped death, relying on quick thinking and the assistance of Arathi human soldiers to deter further attacks. It became clear that this assassin had been sent by the Horde to put a stop to the great and clearly famous Scorpid once and for all, and this Forsaken wasn't leaving without Scorpid's beautiful, handsome face. Ultimately, it was his ability to adapt and outmaneuver his foes that allowed him to survive. He used his environment to his advantage, turning the tide against the Forsaken assassin who knew only the rules of the arena. Scorpid would have been slain easily, to be fair. But Scorpid doesn't fight fair, and at the end of the day, he's still breathing, while the assassin is laying there in the dirt. Suffering from extreme anxiety and fear for his life, Scorpid returned to Refuge Point, presenting the head of the syndicate leader to the captain. The PTSD was strong with Scorpid now, and he decided he'd best not dwell in these highlands much longer. South Shore awaited. In the quaint coastal town of South Shore, a sense of relief washed over Scorpid as he awoke. The nightmares of his recent escape from the clutches of a fearsome Forsaken assassin in Stromgard still lingered in his mind. Here, Scorpid had found a temporary haven. Yet, as days turned into nights, a creeping realization dawned upon him. His coin pouch was lightening with each passing day. In return for coin, Loremaster Dibbs, with his wrinkled face and keen eyes, presented Scorpid with a mission to recover ancient tomes and books from the ruins of Alterac, a once great human kingdom now overrun by giant ogres. Scorpid set his sights northward, towards the mountains and the mysteries they held. Unbeknownst to him, this journey would test his mettle like never before, pitting him against the harsh elements and fearsome creatures that called these snowy peaks their home. In these unforgiving mountains, Scorpid encountered his first adversaries, large, brown yetis. With swift movements and decisive strikes, he fended off these beasts and skinned their rugged hides. As Scorpid journeyed towards the Alterac Mountains, the landscape gradually transformed. The green forests gave way to rugged terrain, and soon the towering, snow-capped peaks of Alterac loomed before him. The air grew colder with each step. Higher up, where the snow blanketed the ground and the air turned icy, Scorpid faced yetis of a different kind. These creatures, with their white fur blending seamlessly into the snowy surroundings, were not only larger, but also possessed a chilling ability. They breathed out icy gusts of freezing breath. As Scorpid pressed on, the ancient stone walls of the Kingdom of Alterac finally came into view. The ruins, battered by conflict, stood as a reminder of the kingdom's fall. Among these ruins, the ogres had established their dominion. Towering and brutish, these ogres wielded massive stone mallets and patrolled their territory with an intimidating presence. His target was the abandoned town hall, a once grand building now reduced to a shadow of its former glory. Scorpid's entry was marked by the crunch of small bones underfoot and the sight of scattered broken furniture, testaments to the ogre's brute strength. The town hall's main chamber presented a haunting scene. Overturned tables and shattered barrels lay amidst larger bones, perhaps remnants of the ogre's past victims. In the center of this chaos stood a colossal ogre, larger and more intimidating than any Scorpid had seen before. Armed with a massive two-handed pike, the ogre's size and strength were unmistakable. Knowing a direct confrontation was out of the question, a well-aimed pebble created a diversion, turning the ogre's attention away. Seizing the moment, Scorpid delivered a swift blow to the ogre's head, stunning it temporarily. This brief window of opportunity was all he needed. He hurriedly scavenged the last standing bookshelf for the sought-after tomes, grabbing whatever he could. With the books in hand, Scorpid made a dash for the exit. The ogre, recovering from the blow, roared in anger, but Scorpid was already slipping away, his mission within the town hall accomplished. In the ruined Alterac fortress, he came upon a powerful ogre mage who rained fire upon him. But Scorpid was too quick for the devilish fiend, and whenever the flames fell, he would dart away, coming in close again to stick his daggers in the ogre's belly whenever he saw an opening. Slaying the ogre mage had proved rewarding, for in its possession it held the Perrenhold tiara, a relic of the lost kingdom of Alterac. This priceless artifact would surely bring him great wealth if returned to those who would find it of importance. As Scorpid ventured deeper into the fortress, his next formidable adversary was not an ogre, but an orc shaman, a member of the vile horde. The shaman, adept in combat, seemed to have little trouble dispatching ogres, a feat that did not go unnoticed by Scorpid. Seeing an opportunity in the shaman's distraction, Scorpid lunged from the shadows, hoping to catch his enemy off guard. However, the shaman's prowess in battle was not to be underestimated. Scorpid found himself in a precarious position, forced to retreat as the shaman turned the tide of the fight. On the rooftops, he faced off against an ogre, but the orc shaman, seeking retribution, intervened. The battle was fierce and closely fought. Scorpid, though quick and agile, was outmatched by the shaman's superior armor and healing abilities. In a daring move, Scorpid leaped from the building, choosing to risk death on his own terms. When he returned to consciousness, the orc and the ogre were nowhere to be found. Scorpid's chance for revenge had slipped through his fingers, leaving him with a burning anger and a resolve to settle the score. In the hills east of Alterac, amidst the relentless battles against the Syndicate, Scorpid's focus remained unwavering. His objective was a well-guarded Syndicate camp, where a treasure chest rumored to contain valuable loot sat in the center. Methodically, he cleared the camp, each fallen Syndicate member, bringing him closer to his prize. Exhausted but victorious, Scorpid approached the chest. As he began to unlock its secrets, an unforeseen betrayal struck. An orc rogue, swift and merciless, ambushed him. The attack was sudden and brutal, leaving Scorpid with no chance to retaliate. When Scorpid regained his senses, the chest was gone, stolen by the cunning orc rogue. This act ignited a deep-seated fury within him. The rule of two became his guiding principle. For every attempt on his own life, two from the horde would pay the price. Driven by this rule, Scorpid's vengeance took a ruthless turn. He encountered an orc hunter, already embroiled in a fight with Syndicate members. Seizing the opportunity, Scorpid attacked, ensuring the hunter's downfall. Further into his journey towards Stranbrad, Scorpid's path crossed with another orc. Without hesitation, he struck, his blades finding their mark with lethal precision. Each slain horde dog was a step towards balancing the scales. With his deeds in the Hillsbrad foothills complete, Scorpid returned to South Shore. The magistrate welcomed him with commendations, praising his significant contributions against both the Syndicate and the Horde. Scorpid prepared for his departure. Aboard a griffin, he soared southward across the ocean. His eyes were now set on Stormwind City, where promised riches awaited in return for the prized Perrenhold tiara. In the bustling heart of Stormwind City, Scorpid presented the Perrenhold tiara, a relic of notable worth, to the royal court of Stormwind. For this, he received a handsome sum. Recognizing Scorpid's unique abilities, the nobles unveiled a mission of utmost importance and secrecy, a top diplomat of Stormwind, had vanished, suspected to be the handiwork of the notorious Defias Brotherhood. Scorpid's reputation as a detective, assassin, and spy had preceded him, making him an ideal candidate. Scorpid's first lead took him to an unlikely location, the Stormwind Cheese Shop. Here, amidst the aromas of aged cheddar, he met Elling Trias, the master of cheese and, more crucially, an undercover agent for SI-7. Trias instructed Scorpid to head to the shadowy alleys of Old Town. His target, Dashel Stonefist, a dwarf with a notorious temperament, known for his ties to the Defias Brotherhood. Stonefist was crucial to uncovering the diplomat's fate, so he'd been left to roam free until now. But after beating the information out of Stonefist, Scorpid's mission became clear. Scorpid arrived at the windswept docks of Menethil Harbor. His cloak fluttered in the wind as he made his way to the local tavern, a haven for sailors and travelers alike. Inside, he discreetly inquired about Slim, a man in connection with the diplomat's disappearance, a name he'd beaten out of Stonefist. No sooner had he spoken Slim's name, a shadowy figure, overhearing the inquiry, made a hasty exit. Scorpid followed. The captured man, now cornered and fearful, was indeed Slim. Held at the point of Scorpid's blade, Slim spilled the truth. The diplomat was none other than the king of Stormwind himself. A shocking revelation. Slim, visibly shaken, disclosed his role in aiding a fake Theramore soldier named Hendel in boarding the king's vessel. The Brotherhood's plan was shrouded in mystery, their members mere cogs in a vast unseen machine. He prepared to embark on a voyage to Theramore, a distant port city across the ocean. The stakes were higher than ever. Rescuing the king could bring untold reward, but the path ahead was fraught with danger and deceit. As Scorpid's vessel neared Theramore, a shroud of fog and storm blurred his view, the dust-wallow marshes casting an eerie brown mist across the landscape. Upon arrival, Scorpid navigated the murky terrain towards the barracks, seeking the leader of Theramore's soldiers. Inside, he met Commander Samol, who divulged Hendel's location at Sentry Point. Braving the perilous marsh, where giant tarantulas and alligators lurked, Scorpid reached the tower, only to find it empty. Suddenly, a friendly wizard materialized before him, informing Scorpid that Hendel was already on the run, hiding deeper in the marshlands. Scorpid followed a trail of footprints to Hendel's hidden camp, confronting Hendel, who feigned ignorance. Scorpid's detective skills shone through, and with the aid of Theramore Marines, he took the traitorous Hendel down. Scorpid came upon the charred remains of the Shady Rest Inn, a once thriving tavern reduced to ashes. He scoured through the rain and mud, his detective instincts unearthed a Theramore Marine badge. More intriguing was a giant, oddly shaped metal shield, scorched and abandoned by the fireplace. Too cumbersome for human use, it hinted at a larger owner. Then Scorpid's keen eyes caught giant hoofprints in the mud, unmistakably those of a Tauren fiend. The evidence seemed to point to the Tauren as the culprits. In the dense marshlands, Scorpid's path crossed with a Tauren druid. Without hesitation, he launched an ambush in the shallow marsh waters. The Tauren, caught off guard and struggling in the water, was no match for Scorpid. Continuing his venture, Scorpid soon witnessed a scene of bullying, a lowly gnome mage being overpowered by a higher-level troll mage. Despite the gnome's small stature, Scorpid couldn't ignore the injustice. Leaping into action, he joined forces with the gnome, cleverly maneuvering the troll into a fiery trap set by the gnome's magic.
Thank you, my friend.
Scorpid came face to face with T. Serenity, a powerful Tauren druid and Discord moderator battling the Murlocs. Observing the Tauren's prowess in combat, Scorpid knew a direct assault was futile. He waited for the opportune moment, striking as T. Serenity engaged multiple Murlocs. Employing his rogue skills, Scorpid incapacitated the Tauren, allowing the Murlocs to overwhelm him. With T. Serenity defeated, Scorpid couldn't help but feel a sense of justice, recalling the earlier clues linking the Tauren to the Shady Rest Inn's destruction. As he returned to Theramore, passive-aggressive whispers from the Shadowlands reached him. T. Serenity speaking from another realm.
Are you okay? Because waiting for 3 mobs to jump, someone just doesn't seem like a fun way to play the game. Unless you have something going on in your life making you incredibly unhappy.
For the Alliance.
I also don't care about your RP. You literally ran to an island, way out of the way, with a single horde on it, and you're camping that horde in one of the most toxic ways possible.
What our world could be without you and your twisted horde.
I ask again, are you okay? Look, bud, I don't care about your RP. I just want to do my thing. If your fun relies on removing fun from others, you shouldn't play games.
Trash like you were allowed to roam free, unchecked.
Okay, Guy, please.
For every alliance that falls to Horde, 2 Horde must pay the price.
I'm not even attacking you. You started it. WTF. Hey, you are the problem.
Have you ever attacked an innocent alliance minding their business?
I PvP exclusively in battlegrounds, so I guess not.
Garrosh would be disappointed.
I don't care. I'm a Tauren. I want flowers and peace. Now leave me the hell alone.
No.
Ah! God! Ah! Whoa!
Scorpid retired to a tavern in Theramore, seeking the comfort of a well-deserved rest. Awakening the next morning, he stepped outside to a joyous sight that reflected yesterday's good and honest deeds. The usual gloom of Dustwallow Marsh was replaced by a clear blue sky over a vibrant and joyous Theramore. Birds sang, and the people around him seemed friendlier. Scorpid had been an outstanding member of the Alliance. Scorpid's eyes were set on finding a horse. He wandered into the stables, where the chestnut mare, the pinto, and the brown horse were displayed. Each horse had its charm, but it was the pinto, with its unique white and colored patches, that caught Scorpid's eye. Despite the allure of the armored horses, their hefty price tags were too steep. So he chose the trusty pinto as his steed. Riding across the land, Scorpid reached Silverwing Refuge in Ashenvale. Eager to prepare for an upcoming challenge, he invested his remaining gold in Sentinel's blades, a Sentinel's medallion, and a unique pair of Protector's bands. Though it left him nearly broke, Scorpid was now well equipped for battle. With his new gear, he aspired to join his first raiding team, hoping his investment would prove worthwhile. However, his lack of battle potions and elixirs, essential for survival, lingered on his mind. Riding his steed south, Scorpid found himself at the southern edge of the Barrens, a desolate savanna. This harsh terrain was home to the quillboar, humanoid boar creatures notorious for their ferocity. Amidst this dry, hostile environment stood Razorfin Crawl, the quillboar's stronghold. An unremarkable entrance, hidden by thick vines and gnarled roots, led to a dark, damp world underground. Scorpid, with his stealth skills, slipped unnoticed into this quillboar city, aiming to target the quillboar leaders and take their valuable treasures for himself. Scorpid's first encounter was with Jargba, a quillboar adept in shadow magic. In a swift move, Scorpid interrupted Jargba's incantations with a well-timed kick, defeating him and claiming some modest treasure. The next challenge was Overlord Ramtusk, a formidable quillboar guarded by 2 loyal minions. Scorpid's blade flurry technique made short work of the guards, but Ramtusk, larger and stronger than most, proved a tougher adversary. He navigated through the dark tunnels, avoiding traps and patrols. The quillboar, reviled for their barbaric habits and unkempt appearance, began to make him very uncomfortable. Scorpid avoided the detection of giant bats, and he confronted quillboar guards and spellcasters, dismantling a magical barrier that hid a shocking secret. A giant boar named Agathalos the Raging, armored and fierce. The battle was intense, but Scorpid triumphed, claiming Agathalos's valuable tusks. Atop her domain sat Chalga Razorflank, the cunning leader of the Quilboar. In her thorny, open-air hut, surrounded by bones, she awaited Scorpid. Unlike the others, Chalga wielded potent lightning magic, striking Scorpid relentlessly. This battle was unlike any other. Scorpid had no counter for her powers. The fight drained him, pushing him to his limits. Chalga fell, leaving behind treasures worth the struggle. After the battle, Scorpid found a goblin merchant imprisoned in the crawl. In exchange for help escaping, the goblin promised rich rewards. Together, they navigated the lower tunnels, facing battle boars but avoiding the more dangerous Quilboar. The goblin, surprisingly capable in combat, honored his word upon reaching safety. With his mission complete, Scorpid traveled to Gadgetzan. The shady goblin merchants there were more than willing to trade coins for his treasures acquired from the crawl. Scorpid's coffers filled with gold, marking the success of his daring venture. As he prepared to leave, his thoughts turned to the future. With enough gold coins for elixirs and potions, he was now ready to join a Nomeragon raiding party. The prospect acquiring high-quality treasure excited him. Scorpid boarded a vessel. At Theramore, heading back to the Eastern Kingdoms, his future seemed bright. Iron Forge, a hub of bustling activity, thrived on trade due to its proximity to Nomeragon, the location of Phase 2's raid. Scorpid, armed with a clear mission and sufficient funds, explored the city's auction house. Among his purchases were nature protection potions, destined to play a vital role in protecting him from the radioactive fallout within Nomeragon. Also, frost and fire protection potions lined his arsenal, offering an hour's worth of magical defense against whatever robotic death machines patrolled the old mechanical city. Ogre strength and agility elixirs, along with stone shield potions, were gathered as a final resort to be used when all hope is lost. Scorpid's journey led him to the Shady Dealers, a critical stop for crafting his own poisons. Raiding teams were notoriously selective. To be considered, one must have already conquered Nomeragon completely, a paradoxical requirement, given that joining a team often required prior experience. Equipment was another hurdle. Scorpid, despite investing heavily in Silverwind daggers, a magical amulet and magical rings, knew his gear was still seen as inadequate. He only needed to be given a chance to prove himself. With his preparations complete, Scorpid ventured into the frigid wilderness of Dunmorol. Nomeragon. Once a thriving gnomish city, it now lay shrouded in mystery and danger, its steampunk and mechanical constructs a stark reminder of its former glory. As he approached, Scorpid braced for encounters with the city's notorious inhabitants, the irradiated leper gnomes and the vicious irradiated trogs. In the mechanical halls, Scorpid embarked on his first mission, to acquire a yellow punch card from a matrix punchograph machine. These mysterious machines were central to accessing Nomeragon's secrets. To acquire a yellow punch card, his only option was to confront the deranged leper gnomes, hoping to find a white punch card on their bodies, the lowest level access punch cards, and do a trade with the machine. He clashed with crazed leper gnomes and aggressive trogs, their minds and bodies corrupted by the toxic fallout. In a startling turn, a Forsaken rogue from the Horde ambushed him, a rare sight in these depths. Scorpid, using his wit, tricked the Forsaken rogue into a corner, surrounding him with leper gnomes that hurriedly sliced the Forsaken apart. Scorpid's perseverance paid off, finally discovering the coveted white punch card. Inserting it into the matrix punchograph, he successfully acquired the yellow punch card. These punch cards contained crucial gnomish data, and with the yellow punch card in hand, Scorpid was now poised to confront the raid itself. In the mechanical labyrinth, Scorpid encountered a band of would-be heroes, a motley crew attempting a daring raid. Despite his modest gear and unproven skills, Scorpid managed to join their ranks. The team's struggle was evident. They spent a lengthy 25 minutes recruiting, only to be mocked and abandoned by better-equipped, high-passing sweatlords. Scorpid realized the harsh truth. His acceptance here was due to a shared lack of experience and inferior equipment among him and the other team members, a true band of underdogs. Through the dimly lit, debris-filled tunnels of Nomeragon, Scorpid and the ragtag team battled fiercely. The journey culminated in a dramatic confrontation in a collapsed section of the tunnel where they faced Grubbus, a massive trog, and his formidable basilisk companion. It was clear that Grubbis had orchestrated the initial assault on Gnomeregan, his size and ferocity a testament to the Trog's brutal onslaught. The clash with Grubbis was intense and perilous. Despite suffering significant losses, the raiding team succeeded in defeating the Trog leader. Among the spoils was a powerful leather belt, ideal for Scorpid. However, fate wasn't in his favor. He lost the dice roll for the belt to an already better-equipped rogue teammate. Though disappointed, Scorpid understood that more opportunities would arise, if they could survive. The team had barely scraped through this first boss, typically the easiest, leaving Scorpid uncertain about their chances ahead. Scorpid achieved a small victory, trading his yellow punch card for a more advanced blue one. This progress was a glimmer of hope as the team ventured into the lower levels, where radiation levels peaked. Fortunately, the pervasive danger had manifested into living radioactive slime monsters, allowing relatively safe passage except for a few perilous radioactive hotspots. Scorpid's close-quarters battles with these slimes tested his mettle, but the nature protection potions he had wisely acquired earlier proved invaluable, shielding him from the deadly radiation. Scorpid and his team faced the viscous fallout, a colossal radiation elemental. While the team focused on the behemoth, Scorpid astutely tackled the smaller slimes, detaching from it, preventing their reformation into new threats. His strategy was crucial, yet many teammates fell to the elemental's onslaught, whilst ignoring the correct strategy. The fallen viscous fallout relinquished coveted treasures, exquisite shoulder pads, and a cloak. However, luck eluded Scorpid again. The dice rolls favored others. Despite his significant role in the battle, his efforts were unrewarded. Scorpid persevered, determined to gain something from this perilous adventure. Delving deeper, the raiding team battled through armored leper gnomes and their peculiar Mechanostrider mounts, humorously likened to mechanical chickens by Scorpid. In the chaos, Scorpid seized every chance to gather mechanical goods from nearby vending machines. Observing the raid leader doing the same thing, he felt justified in his stealthy scavenging, even as battles raged around them. The team's next formidable challenge was the Crowd Pummeler 9-60, a giant robot mirroring the city's steampunk architecture. Scorpid's poisoned weapons proved futile against its metal plating. The robot's lethal attacks, from spinning arms threatening to fling them off ledges to deadly Beyblades targeting their ankles, intensified the battle. Alas, its defeat yielded no useful loot for Scorpid, another stroke of misfortune. Progressing further, the team's synergy improved noticeably. Scorpid located another Matrix punchograph machine, upgrading his blue punch card to a red one, inching closer to the highest access level. Battling through the underground hangar, they finally reached a colossal mechanical elevator, a testament to the gnome's engineering prowess. In the heart of the city, Scorpid and his team entered the boiler room. Scorpid discreetly gathered his last needed mechanical goods, his actions sharp and silent. But the team's strategy unraveled when a clumsy dwarven warrior, lacking Scorpid's finesse, attempted the same sneaky action. His heavy steps alerted the leper gnomes, which in turn woke a new threat, an irradiated leper gnome riding the Electrocutioner 6000, a formidable mechanical spider tank. The Electrocutioner 6000 loomed over them. In a quick-thinking move, Scorpid and another teammate leaped onto the elevator, seeking escape. But their plan was thwarted by a sudden electrical barrier, blocking their way out. The team, now trapped, faced the daunting task of confronting the giant mechanical menace, with Scorpid's skills about to be put to a severe test. Regrouping, the team strategized against the formidable spider tank. However, their plan was disrupted by the other rogue's impulsive charge into battle. The clever leper gnome driver exploited the team's weaknesses, employing tactics like chain lightning and random electrical blasts. These required precise coordination, which proved too complex for some members. The team struggled, repeatedly failing to adapt to the battle's demands, their lack of experience and cohesion painfully evident. But luckily, they had the mighty Scorpid, often the last standing as his allies lay defeated. The battle was grueling, with Scorpid repeatedly facing the mechanical giant alone, while his teammates succumbed to electrocution. His persistence paid off as they eventually subdued the spider tank, but it was a victory hard-earned and costly in effort. In the aftermath, Scorpid raced to the final Matrix punchograph machine. His efforts bore fruit as he exchanged the red punch card for the ultimate prismatic punch card. Yet, the spoils of battle, a valuable chest plate, eluded him once more, claimed by the other rogue through the luck of a dice roll, who had now amassed 3 powerful upgrades. Despite his pivotal role in their victory, Scorpid received nothing for his bravery and skill, while the less deserving flourished. A bitter pill to swallow in the harsh world of raiding. As the raid ended early, with only 4 out of 6 bosses defeated, Scorpid reflected on his journey. Despite being the underdog, he had outshined his better-equipped teammates, yet fate hadn't favored him with any treasure. The irony wasn't lost on him. His substantial efforts amounted to little more than breaking even with his expenses. This adventure, while thrilling, left Scorpid questioning the value of such endeavors, resolving to abandon the worthless world of raiding altogether. He at least found some solace in the gnome's gratitude and the small rewards they offered. For now, it was goodbye to Gnomerigan's trials, but there was still one last hope for better equipment. In the deep jungles of Stranglethorn Vale, danger lurked at every corner. Scorpid's mission was to shadow a double agent working for the rebels against the crazed forces of Curzon's compound. Scorpid, blending into the shadows, protected Thorson from Curzon's men who had learned of his true allegiance. The stakes were high. A traitor was hiding among the rebels, and he'd ratted out Thorson. Upon rescuing Thorson, Scorpid's next mission had him infiltrate the compound, targeting the medicine men vital to the survival of Curzon's forces against the jungle's exotic diseases. It was here he discovered crucial records revealing the traitor within the rebels. The enemy, Private Merle. His next mission was clear. He had to venture into the ominous cave system known as the Stockpile, the lair of the crazed Colonel Curzon. He stumbled upon an innocent prisoner, trapped by Curzon's commandos in a watchtower. Demonstrating his combat prowess, Scorpid outmatched the crazed commandos in a fierce 1 versus 2 battle. The grateful prisoner, lacking Scorpid's stealth abilities, requested a Curzon soldier uniform as a disguise for escape. Scorpid obliged, skillfully acquiring the uniform from the compound's stockpile. He knew the time was ticking. Colonel Curzon had to fall if his forces were ever to be defeated. He navigated through the cave, outwitting Curzon's commandos and cutting down the voodoo practitioners. His target, Colonel Curzon, the leader of this madness. Using a small brass key, Scorpid unlocked a chest with secret documents that exposed the extent of Curzon's treachery. As Scorpid prepared to confront Colonel Curzon, sneaking through the cave, he outmaneuvered the subchiefs guarding Curzon. The sight of Curzon, clad in formidable plate armor, was intimidating. Scorpid realized the magnitude of his challenge. This was a battle meant for allies, yet he stood alone. With the blood moon nearing, it would soon infect all with a savage rage. Time was of the essence. Fortified by a stone shield potion, Scorpid launched a swift attack, defeating the subchief and engaging Curzon in a fierce battle. Colonel Curzon sure could dish out a beating, but even he was no match for the mighty Scorpid. Victorious, he claimed Curzon's head and stealthily retreated. Outside the cave, Scorpid handed the stolen Curzon uniform to the tower's prisoner, enabling a stealthy escape. His mission at Curzon compound completed, Scorpid returned to the rebel camp, presenting Colonel Curzon's head. Rewarded with gold and a boomstick, he had brought some peace and hope. As he crossed the Nazfariti River, battles raged between Horde and Alliance. In the Hunter's camp, Scorpid met the legendary Hemet Nessingwary and prepared for hunting quests. Spotting a Horde ambush, he saved low-level Alliance adventurers from their attackers. This was just the beginning of his trials in the jungle. Scorpid's journey led him to face young panthers and tigers, proving his skill to Nessingwary. His encounters with the Horde continued. He defended a gnome mage from a vicious attack, but the challenges escalated as he battled larger Stranglethorn raptors. His prowess grew with each conquest, but a confrontation with 2 Horde warriors left him trapped between an ogre outpost and the ocean. In a perilous situation, Scorpid's skills were truly tested. Surrounded by ogres, water, and aggressive Horde, his options were limited. Despite his best efforts, escape seemed impossible. This intense moment highlighted the brutality and unpredictability of Stranglethorn Vale. It was a test of survival and cunning in a land where the line between hunter and prey blurred. As the blood god, Hakar, rose, so did the blood moon. Under the menacing glow of the blood moon, Scorpid transformed into a wild fighter, embroiled in the chaos of Stranglethorn Vale. The jungle erupted in frenzied combat, with Scorpid battling fiercely, compelled to fight to the death for the blood god Hakar. Yet, the event was marred by an intense wave of server lag, diminishing the thrill. It was reminiscent of his underwhelming Gnomeregan raid, where reality fell short of his expectations. The arcane magic of mages and druids reigned supreme, leaving Scorpid's daggers often useless against teleporting foes. Despite the chaos and frustration, Scorpid relentlessly pursued all he could, vowing to return for his rewards at the Blood Altar later. As the blood moon waned, the jungle's madness ebbed, but Scorpid's resolve did not. The lag had made true combat elusive. No heroic duels or grand battles, just chaotic skirmishes. Still, Scorpid seized every chance to confront the Horde, accumulating honor in each clash. The area around the altar remained a battleground, too dangerous for now. Scorpid evaded Horde hunting parties, focusing on his own quests. He tackled Elder Stranglethorn tigers and elusive Shadowmoor panthers, masters of stealth like himself. Along the Nazfariti River, Scorpid mischievously disrupted a Forsaken fisherman's tranquility, taking delight in causing a small annoyance by cheekily throwing pebbles to distract him. Scorpid faced the jungle stalkers, the largest raptors, adorned with unusual pink scales, posing a formidable challenge. His journey led him south to Booty Bay for rest, but even so close to the port city, danger lurked. A surprise attack by a Horde Tauren druid forced Scorpid into a hasty retreat and a daring counterattack, showing his resilience. In Booty Bay, Scorpid met with Krazek, a goblin, who tasked Scorpid with delivering a mechanical crockpot to the rebel camp. The request involved traveling to Arathi Highlands for bloodstone ore to repair the crockpot. Instead of a long journey, Scorpid cleverly purchased the ore from the Booty Bay's auction house, surprising Krazek with his resourcefulness. At the rebel camp, Scorpid's delivery of the mechanical crockpot was met with great appreciation and handsome reward. Back at the hunter's camp, his skill in hunting the jungle's fiercest beasts, panthers, tigers, and raptors, earned him high regard. But the ultimate test awaited, defeating the strongest of each species. Scorpid first vanquished Sindol, the tiger, then overcame Bagthera, the formidable panther. His prowess shone brightest in the perilous battle with Tethys, the mightiest raptor. With triumphs over Sindol, Bagthera, and Tethys, Scorpid was hailed as a master hunter. Yet, one challenge remained. King Bangalash, the white tiger, known as the King of the Jungle. This final adversary stood as a true test of Scorpid's mastery. Accepting the challenge, Scorpid prepared to face the jungle's fiercest predator. Defeating King Bangalash would not only prove his unmatched skill, but would also symbolize his conquest of Stranglethorn Vale's untamed wilds. Before tackling his ultimate challenge, Scorpid avenged a night elf hunter, defeating a horde troll in a surprise attack. In the dense jungle, he finally confronted King Bangalash, the formidable white tiger. The battle was fierce, with Scorpid resorting to a stone shield potion for durability. Despite Scorpid gaining the upper hand initially, King Bangalash summoned panthers, forcing Scorpid to retreat. Yet, with the unexpected aid of another night elf hunter, they triumphed over the white tiger. Scorpid proudly returned to Hemet Nezingwary with the tiger's head, earning Hemet Nezingwary's respect, and the Master Hunter's rifle as his new and improved boomstick. Scorpid's final journey led him to the Gurubashi Arena, where he exchanged blood tokens for a new dagger and an enchanted cloak at the Blood Altar. In Booty Bay, with his new ornaments and a sense of great accomplishment, Scorpid's story drew to a close. Finding solace in a familiar room in the port city, he reflected on his quests and victories. Home at last, his saga, filled with adventure, bravery, and brotherhood, had finally come to an end. The story of Scorpid, a tale of a daring rogue's journey through the glory days of Season of Discovery, had finally concluded. The end.